It was a clear sunny day outside, the city was in full swing with life. The main character wondered what is the most important thing that makes up for youth. Perhaps it was genuine enthusiasm for the future. And perhaps strong friendship fills our young years with events. Perhaps romantic relationships bring color to the life of any young person. The main character was holding a stack of papers in his hands, he tapped it on the table to align them. The main character was sure that all these things were illusory, and that wasn't enough for him. The guy believed that there are many incomprehensible situations between people, and in other words, it is very difficult to meet a person who could understand you. He was laying out papers on the table. The guy believed that love makes sense only with mutual understanding between the two partners. The main character's name was Bai Qiao. Among this stack of papers he saw a love letter, it had a heart on it. The guy paid attention to him. The young man opened this letter and began to read it. It said that someone invited him to come to the tennis court after school. The guy was dumbfounded by such a sudden confession, especially through a love letter. He didn't understand how to cope with this sudden love. For Bai Qiao, it was a headache to receive confessions from girls. The sender of this letter was already waiting for the guy at the appointed place to talk to him. The girl's name was Wu Yaoyao. Bai Qiao accepted the girl's invitation and came to her tennis court after school. He called her. Wu Yaoyao turned around and became embarrassed. The girl was very surprised that the object of her affection actually came to meet her. She was very happy about this. Bai Qiao, trying to smooth things over, pretended that he thought the girl was talking about the activity report. He told her to just bring it to the student council. Wu Yaoyao was angry because the guy was pretending to be stupid again. In fact, the girl meant something completely different. Wu Yaoyao looked at the guy angrily. She was ready to kill him if he did not listen to the girl. The guy was really scared of her. His hands began to tremble with fear. Bai Qiao really thought that she was threatening him. Bai Qiao turned around awkwardly. He wanted to get as far away from Wu Yaoyao as possible. However, the girl quickly noticed this. She would not let him escape so easily. Wu Yaoyao pulled the guy by the scruff of the neck. He had already said goodbye to life. She pushed Bai Qiao and he fell straight onto the girl. The guy was very scared. Wu Yaoyao hugged him to her and confessed her love to the guy. She was very embarrassed while saying this. Bai Qiao didn't understand what was happening at all. Looking at the young man with loving eyes, Wu Yaoyao asked him if he would date her. Bai Qiao still lay awkwardly on the girl's legs. He did not understand how to get out of this difficult situation. Wu Yaoyao waited for an answer from him. The guy couldn't believe that this was really a confession and he couldn't avoid it. Bai Qiao didn't know what to do, because he doesn't want to fall in love yet, but he doesn't know what will happen if he refuses, because the girl is the champion of the archery club. The girl kept demanding an answer from Bai Qiao. She nervously shook his shoulders. Bai Qiao didn't know what to answer. He mumbled something awkwardly. Bai Qiao really wanted to escape from there. The next moment, the guy thought that he is a strong man who has gone through many battles and he is the best when it comes to escaping. Bai Qiao gained strength and courage, put his hand on Wu Yaoyao's shoulder, and was ready to voice his answer. He began to say that he was sorry that everything turned out this way. He replied in a serious tone that the young man already had someone he liked. At that very moment, a girl with black hair nearby uttered the same phrase. The girl stood a few meters away from Bai Qiao and Wu Yaoyao, and they looked at her in surprise. The guys watched in surprise at this scene, which almost completely copied their situation. The guy who confessed to the dark-haired girl thought that she already had a loved one. He awkwardly apologized for the inconvenience. Wu Yaoyao didn't believe the guy. She asked if he was going to use the same excuse as that girl. The guy didn't understand how it happened that they ran into each other at that time. Wu Yaoyao kept demanding an answer from the guy why he didn't want to date her. Bai Qiao lowered his head and said that it was true that he was in love with one person. The girl was very surprised. The girl didn't even realize that her crush already liked someone. Wu Yaoyao was not upset. She resolutely wanted to ask something and approached the guy. The girl demanded that Bai Qiao tell him who he loved, otherwise Wu Yaoyao would confess to him every day in absolutely all the places the guy visited. Wu Yaoyao moved even closer. She came looking into Bai Qiao's eyes. The girl asked again who she was. Bai Qiao was sweating profusely and didn't know what to answer her. The guy didn't understand why the girl was doing this and didn't know what to do. Bai Qiao thought that the best option would be to come up with a fake girl. And Bai Qiao loudly declared that he was in love with the elder Ning Yixue. Wu Yaoyao was confused. The guy said this so confidently that their dialogue was heard by a dark-haired girl who was about to leave the tennis court. Wu Yaoyao said that if a guy likes her, then everything is fine. Bai Qiao was amazed at the girl's reaction. Wu Yaoyao was so calm because she didn't think that she knew Bai Qiao and the two of them couldn't have a relationship. In addition, the girl was going to leave this school next year and she was very upset by this news. Wu Yaoyao still did not give up. She again came close to Bai Qiao. The guy was surprised once again. Wu Yaoyao smiled sweetly and said that even if the guy didn't like her, she would try to gradually like her in the future. The girl turned around cheerfully, waved to the young man. It was time for her to leave. Tomorrow she was going to call for him in the morning. Bai Qiao was shocked by the girl's persistence. He didn't understand what to do next to convince her. It was late evening and it was getting dark outside. At school, the light was still on in one of the classrooms, and someone could be heard outraged from there. Bai Qiao was sitting in the office. He complained about the situation with Wu Yaoyao. The guy was convinced that he had provided the perfect refusal, but the girl did not understand anything. It seemed to the guy that his youth was also a problem. Bai Qiao was not alone in the office. The student council president, Tang Xian, was with him, and she listened carefully to the guy. Bai Qiao himself was the vice president of the student council. Tang Xian slowly sat down on the desk where the young man was sitting. The girl crossed her legs and asked what Bai Qiao was doing here at this time. The guy thought the girl was joking, because he voluntarily stayed to help with student council affairs. In fact, it was Tang Xiang who forced him to stay and work late today on the student council's backlog of business. The girl smiled sweetly and straightened her hair. She brought a cup of tea to her lips and said that the guy was a very good person. The girl seductively licked her lips and handed the guy a cup of coffee. This was his reward for working overtime today. Bai Qiao tried with all his might to refuse such a gift. He didn't need it, because his mother said that drinking coffee at night was harmful. The girl instantly pretended that she was very offended by Bai Qiao's refusal. She skillfully manipulated the guy. She started saying that she was kind enough to make coffee for the vice president, but he doesn't appreciate it. Tang Xiang's tricks clearly had an effect on Bai Qiao. He picked up a cup of coffee and said that he would definitely remember the president's kindness. The girl came close to the young man. She said that she was sure that Bai Qiao would reciprocate her feelings. The guy doesn't quite understand what she's talking about. Bai Qiao remembered seeing another love letter in the morning. There was a rose stuck on it. However, Bai Qiao did not know who sent it. Tang Xiang took Bai Qiao by the shoulders and asked him to tell him what he thought about love letters. Bai Qiao was embarrassed and thought that she knew that Wu Yaoyao wrote him a love letter, or perhaps the love letter on the table was written by her and she realized that the guy did not notice it. The girl came closer and closer to Bai Qiao. She rested her chest on his hand. The girl noticed that the vice president did not answer her question. She wrapped her arms around the guy's neck. He blushed with embarrassment. Tang Xiang asked him in his ear what Bai Qiao thought about her love letter. Tang Xiang leaned forward seductively, her underwear visible. The girl noticed that the vice president did not answer her question. The girl moved close to Bai Qiao. He blushed. The girl asked what the guy thought about the love letter. At that moment there was a knock on the office door. The knocker called for President Tang Xian. Bai Qiao awkwardly looked at the girl, hinting to her that she needed to let him go. She pretended not to understand this and asked if he wanted the girl to hug the guy tighter. Tian Xiang finally hugged Bai Qiao tightly and released him from her embrace. The girl straightened the buttons on her shirt and thought that the vice president was very petty. However, this was not the end of the guy's torment. The president approached him again and hugged the guy tightly around the neck. Bai Qiao couldn't breathe and tried to escape. The girl remembered that someone was knocking on the door. She allowed this person to enter. It was some guy. He opened the door and walked into the office. Having opened the door, the student who came in saw a defiant picture of Tang Xiang tightly hugging Bai Qiao. Thoughts immediately came to him about what they were doing here. The student who entered the office was shocked by what he saw. He could not even say for what purpose he needed to see the president. The young man simply handed the letter to the president. At this time, Bai Qiao freed himself from the hug and shouted to the guy that this was not what he was thinking about and they weren't doing anything like that in the office. Bai Qiao understood how it all looked from the outside. He was not sure that the student believed him. Tang Xian sighed and took the guy by the shoulder. She smirked, then slyly turned away from Bai Qiao. The girl said that the problem was solved. Bai Qiao didn't even understand what problem the president was talking about. The girl was holding a small button behind her back, which she deftly and quietly tore off from Bai Qiao's shirt. Tang Xian sat down at the chair and said that if Bai Qiao received 25 love letters a month, he would understand her. Since the vice president is the only boy she knows well, she can hold him responsible for this. The girl grinned and thought that the vice president simply couldn't receive love letters and it was too much to ask him to understand Tan Xian's feelings. The guy awkwardly asked if she was thinking about his personal safety. Tan Xian picked up the phone and started looking for something in it. At this time, her coffee had already cooled down, she began to drink it. The girl smiled sweetly and was about to offer her scent to Bai Qiao. The guy was shocked by this. Tan Xian looked at the time on her phone screen and thought that it was already too late. While drinking coffee, Tan Xian looked closely at the young man. That look gave him goosebumps. Bai Qiao was seriously scared and asked what the girl was going to do now. Tan Xian gently took Bai Qiao's hand. She asked why Bai Qiao was looking at her like that and was she really a sinner in the vice president's understanding. Bai Qiao closed his eyes, he tried to see something through the gaps between his fingers. Tan Xian realized that the guy was trying to see something, she told him to close his eyes better and not peep. Bai Qiao had a bad feeling about all this. The guy tried to look again, he could not restrain his curiosity. The girl understood everything, she came up and shaded the guy's eyes better, she threatened him that if she peeked, it could cause a real bloody storm. Tan Xian began to tie her hair into a ponytail, she had luxurious long white hair. The girl took out a hair tie and prepared to make a ponytail. Tan Xian began to slowly take off her clothes. First she unbuttoned her shirt and tie, the girl bared her shoulders. Bai Qiao roughly understood what was happening, even with his eyes closed, he began to feel embarrassed and blush. Next, Tan Xian slowly unbuttoned her school skirt. The president's skirt fell to the floor and made a characteristic falling sound. The guy heard him. He didn't understand what the president was up to and what that strange noise was, his back was turned away from the girl. At this time, Tang Xian had already completely undressed, she stood almost naked behind the guy. The girl approached Bai Qiao's back and asked him about the strange noise. The girl began to take off her shoes, she asked if the vice president had expected this noise. The guy began to deny it, the girl pulled him back sharply by the collar. Tan Xian allowed the guy to open his eyes, she leaned towards him, the guy was shocked by what he saw. The girl appeared before him in a very seductive and revealing outfit, she asked him what he thought, if this dress suited her. Bai Qiao blushed, he said that the girl looked beautiful, but he didn't understand why she was changing clothes in the office again, because there was a chance that someone would see her. Tan Xian raised her hand to Bai Qiao's lips, the guy was seriously scared. The girl smiled sweetly and said that she was in a hurry, because today she had a dinner party at home, so she didn't know what to do. Tan Xian didn't actually change her clothes in the office, because her dress can be folded to fit into her school uniform. So the girl simply took off her uniform, she began to show Bai Qiao how she did it, the guy asked her to wait, he didn't need to explain anything. Tan Xian came close to the young man again, he reminded her that the girl seemed to be in a hurry. Bai Qiao defended himself as best he could from her seductive attacks, he crossed his arms in front of his face, trying not to look at all the girl's charms. The guy didn't understand how it was possible to be so slow. At this time, the girl was getting closer and closer to the guy's face. Tan Xian almost forgot that she tore a button off the guy's shirt. Tan Xiang extended her hand towards Bai Qiao, the young man already suspected something was wrong. She said that the vice president is very careless and as a member of the student council, it is not right to leave your discipline and button exposed like this. Bai Qiao didn't even notice when his button flew off. The girl pinned his collar with a brooch with a picture of a twig. Tan Xian said that this was an additional reward for the vice president for voluntarily agreeing to work overtime. The girl left and told the guy to be smart and finish the overtime. Bai Qiao was even more embarrassed by such an unexpected gift from the president. The girl was very pleased with herself, she happily hummed something to herself as she left the office, she thought she finally got Bai Qiao. Tan Xiang laughed slyly, she held behind her back the same button that she had quietly torn off from Bai Qiao's shirt. Walking up to his desk with his letters, the guy saw the same thing with a rose in the middle. Bai Qiao knew that this was not a love letter from the president. The young man had no idea who it was from, the guy decided to read what was written in it. The letter was from Ning Yi, in which the girl invited Bai Qiao to go to a nearby cafe after school if he had time for this. Bai Qiao saw who the letter was from, in the lower right corner was a small signature of the sender's name. Bai Qiao looked at the girl's name in surprise. He did not expect that she was the author of this letter. The girl was the queen of schools. The guy didn't understand why she was writing to him. He was confused. Ning Yi sat at the cafe table and read a book. The girl believed in horoscopes. And if today's horoscope is to be believed, she should have had one more confession. Meanwhile, in the coffee shop to which Ning Yi invited the guy, there was a quiet and cozy atmosphere. The girl sat at one table and slowly turned the pages of the book. Bai Qiao sat opposite her holding a cup of coffee. The guy didn't understand what caused the girl's interest. He awkwardly asked if Ning Yi was looking for him. The girl did not look up from reading the book. She turns the pages one by one. Wu Yaoyao came to Ning Yi today. The girl calmly reported this to Bai Qiao. Ning Yi straightened her hair behind her ear. The visit of the young man's friend was not the most important thing right now. The girl was more interested in the fact that Bai Qiao liked her. During Wu Yaoyao's visit to Ning Yi, she explained in detail all of Bai Qiao's shortcomings and the reasons why they could not be together. The guy was so surprised that he choked on his coffee and spat it all out. The girl didn't understand why the guy was behaving this way. She asked if he was okay. Bai Qiao replied that he was fine. The guy tried to make excuses that this was not what Ning Yi thought. The girl immediately understood everything. She assumed that this was just a random reason for Bai Qiao to refuse Wu Yaoyao. Bai Qiao awkwardly lowered his head and thanked the girl for her understanding. He was amazed by her intelligence and outstanding talents and was surprised that he had misunderstood everything because someone like her did not want to confess to the guy. Bai Qiao bowed deeply. He apologized for using his sympathy for Ning Yi as an excuse. The guy was ready to do everything so that the girl would forgive him. Ning Yi closed the book with a calm expression. The girl wanted to ask Bai Qiao one more question. Ning Yi asked Bai Qiao without blinking an eye whether he would be her boyfriend. The guy was numb from shock. He didn't know what to say. Bai Qiao thought that the girl was probably joking. Ning Yi was not joking, but she did not want to date Bai Qiao for real. The young man had to pretend to be her boyfriend. Bai Qiao didn't quite understand what Ning Yi meant by pretending to be her boyfriend. Ning Yi explained that this was necessary so that Wu Yaoyao would finally give in when she saw that the guys were dating. After all, even the refusal had no effect on her. Bai Qiao was surprised that the girl wanted to help him. He didn't quite understand why the girl herself couldn't reject someone. Ning Yi said that her situation is more complicated than Bai Qiao's. The girl sighed heavily. She got up from the table and put down the book she was reading. It was just a suggestion. The guy didn't have to agree to it. The girl told Bai Qiao not to worry so much and just think about her proposal. She suggested meeting tomorrow at the same coffee shop. Ning Yi will wait for Bai Qiao's answer. The girl turned around and went about her business. At this time, morning came in the city. White clouds slowly floated in the sky. In Bai Qiao's room, the alarm clock was constantly ringing. The guy was in no hurry to turn it off, because he wanted to soak in the bed longer. At this time, a girl came into his room and turned off his alarm clock. She had socks with cats on her feet. Bai Qiao was fast asleep in his bed at this moment. He did not notice that someone had entered the room. The girl also had a tail. She began to climb onto Bai Qiao's bed. He was fast asleep. The girl moved closer to the guy's face. Bai Qiao still didn't fall down. The girl leaned towards the guy's neck. She licked herself slyly. At this moment, Bai Qiao finally opened her eyes and was amazed by what she saw. Directly above his face was a girl dressed in a cat costume. At that very second the guy jumped up in fear. He didn't understand why the girl was dressed like that again and what she wanted to do. The girl was sitting right on top of the guy. The guy doesn't understand why the girl is so close to him. He went to bed last night without a bath, and he probably didn't smell nice now. The girl liked the guy's ugly panda eyes. She spread her legs and sat directly on him. Bai Qiao was very sleepy. He apologized for causing the girl inconvenience. The girl said that everything was fine and moved closer to the guy. She hovered over him and said that Bai Qiao smelled very good. The girl smiled. At this moment, Bai Qiao suddenly jumped out of bed. The girl didn't even have time to understand what happened. Bai Qiao didn't want to bother with the girl. He went to brush his teeth. The girl grabbed the guy's t-shirt tightly and dragged herself behind him. The guy came into the bathroom. He picked up a brush and began to brush his teeth. The young man was clearly in a bad mood. The girl hugged the guy tightly. He asked how long she was going to hang like that. The girl called the guy brother. She looked at him pitifully and said that her brother didn't even want to give her time to warm up. The guy was shocked, and such words from the girl, he told her not to say such misleading words. The girl was very upset by the guy's attitude. She said that Bai Qiao had been very cold to her lately. After some time, the girl came out of the kitchen. She was wearing a white apron. She carried the plate in her hands while Bai Qiao sat and waited quietly at the table. Bai Qiao's breakfast was already ready. It was prepared by his sister with love. The girl happily presented food to her brother. Bai Qiao had scrambled eggs for breakfast. The girl asked if Bai Qiao liked her dishes. The girl was confident in her culinary abilities. She thought these were amazing scrambled eggs. The guy wanted to ask his sister something. He wondered how often they confessed to her at school. The girl was embarrassed. She replied that this happened sometimes. The guy grabbed his sister's hand and eagerly asked how she usually rejected her suitors and what to do if the other person does not lag behind even after refusal. The girl was amazed. She sheepishly replied that she would have said that she already had a boyfriend. If they believed her, then you would have shown a photo of your brother. The girl snatched her hand from Bai Qiao's hands. She suggested that they hurry up, because they were already late for school. Bai Qiao had to remember to wash the dishes. The guy thought about it. It turns out that pretending that he is dating someone is the only way to make someone give up. After some time, someone's long pink hair could be seen from around the corner of the school. And what was it? Wu Yaoyao. She was standing leaning on the school. The girl was waiting for Bai Qiao, but did not understand why he had not come out yet. At this time, the school door opened and the girl saw Bai Qiao coming out. The young man was very surprised that Wu Yaoyao actually came and stood in traditional archery costume. However, the girl arrived too early. The guy began to run away from her. Wu Yaoyao was confused. The guy thought that this was the end. In such clothes, she must be planning to settle the matter with the rejected confession by force. Wu Yaoyao screamed after the guy. She wanted him to stop. The girl didn't understand why he was running away. Her words had no effect. She decided to choose a different method. Wu Yaoyao began to run after the guy with all her fury. She pushed off the ground, jumped high and in her jump knocked the young man off his feet, kicking him on the back. She wrapped her legs around his head and grabbed his tie to stop the guy. Bai Qiao did not understand what kind of romantic comedy his life had turned into. It was a clear sunny day outside. The sun was shining brightly, illuminating a large stadium-like building. Wu Yaoyao persistently dragged Bai Qiao to the Kyoto Association performance. The guy doesn't understand why the girl does this. She replied that she spent a lot of effort trying to forgive him and take him on a date, but the guy was not at all grateful. Bai Qiao didn't understand how you date the girl. He noticed that he also doesn't have lessons. I'll be there. Wu Yaoyao pulled the guy by the tie. They ran quickly so as not to be late. The girl saw a group of people in front of her. In the crowd of girls stood a blonde guy. He interacted nicely with his fans. The guy noticed Wu Yaoyao. He raised his head and smiled sweetly. The guy waved to Wu Yaoyao. The girl recognized him. She was clearly not happy about such a sudden meeting with him. Bai Qiao also noticed him and asked who this guy was. At that moment, a brilliant idea came to the girl, and a blush appeared on her cheeks. She turned around and called Bai Qiao dear. Yaoyao was beaming with happiness. Her eyes were shining. She wanted to pretend that Bai Qiao was her boyfriend. She hugged the guy's hand and said that she was very glad that he saw her off. Wu Yaoyao asked Bai Qiao to wait for her backstage, because it was so hot outside. Bai Qiao didn't understand what was happening. The guy noticed that Wu Yaoyao somehow suddenly changed. The guy felt uneasy, and she also began to address him so strangely. He did not understand what caused such changes in the girl. Wu Yaoyao smiled and with an angry look threatened the guy that if he did not play along, the Kyoto Circle would take him hostage and use him as a target for training. Wu Yaoyao beamed and said that she would go get ready, and the guy would watch her purse. Bai Qiao wished the girl a good performance and said that he would be waiting for her with her purse and backstage. The blonde guy saw this scene. He grinned and thought that everything was already interesting for Wu Yaoyao. He didn't believe the guy's game. The guy said goodbye to his fans and apologized for having to leave them. The guy was going to talk to Bai Qiao. The girls around him were very upset by the guy's sudden departure. They wanted to spend more time with him. The guy approached Bai Qiao and decided to meet him. He knew that he was the deputy chairman of the Yinel Polytechnic. The guy extended his hand to Bai Qiao. The guy introduced himself. His name was Lin Gu. He is the head of the Kyoto Duden Circle. The guy had already heard about Bai Qiao from Wu Yaoyao. but he didn't think that he and they would collide like this. Bai Qiao greeted awkwardly, he did not understand where this friendliness came from. Lin Gu suggested with a smile that while Bai Qiao was seeing Wu Yaoyao off, she had probably caused him a lot of trouble. The guy volunteered to accompany Wu Yaoyao after the meeting, since he was the one who invited her, and so as not to overwork Bai Qiao. At this moment, Bai Qiao understood everything. Lin Gu was trying to cunningly manipulate the guy, he wanted something from Wu Yaoyao. At that time, Wu Yaoyao was running away from the guys, she was unpleasant about meeting Lin Gu. Lin Gu clearly did not want Bai Qiao to attend the performance. He said that time is precious and if the guy is not interested in watching the performance, then he should return, and Lin Gu will explain everything to Wu Yaoyao himself. Bai Qiao didn't like Lin Gu's attitude, he refused to shake his hand, and I said that he probably misunderstood everything. Bai Qiao received an invitation from the student union, but as for who will accompany Wu Yaoyao, it has nothing to do with him. The guy decisively walked past Lin Gu. Bai Qiao looked angrily at Lin Gu, he said that this also does not apply to him. Bai Qiao said goodbye to Lin Gu and said that he was leaving. Lin Gu was angered by Bai Qiao's brazen attitude. The guy was beside himself with anger, he found the situation interesting, but there was nothing to worry about, he already had a plan of action in mind. Wu Yaoyao quietly watched the boys' dialogue from around the corner. She smiled sweetly and became embarrassed. She was very happy with how Bai Qiao stood up for her in front of Lin Gu. The archery performance was about to begin soon, the arrows hitting the target with great speed. At this time, Wu Yaoyao was training in the large hall, she confidently held the bow in her hands. Bai Qiao watched her skill while sitting on a bench. He wanted to leave there as soon as possible, the guy was wondering when this performance would end, he wasn't very interested in archery. Bai Qiao held the girl's bag in his hands, it was not tightly closed. At one point, the bag completely opened and all the contents flew to the floor, all of Wu Yaoyao's notebooks fell out, Bai Qiao was confused. Bai Qiao began to pick up all the fallen things. On the floor there were many books about methods of courting guys. Bai Qiao was surprised by what the girl was reading. While collecting Wu Yaoyao's books, from behind the scenes the guy heard someone talking, this conversation caught his interest. That man said that the one whose name he did not remember takes advantage of the fact that she has a pretty face, puts on airs and believes that she is always right. Lin Gu was talking behind the scenes, he asked someone to leave these thoughts, and everyone already thinks that he was mistaken. A girl was talking to him, she didn't understand how she could leave it like that and she needed to teach this most mischievous girl a lesson, she shouldn't restrain herself. There were 3 girls around Lin Gu, one of them believed that this was not nothing, because the guy only received a slap in the face in vain. Bai Qiao watched their dialogue closely. Lin Gu skillfully manipulated the fans, he said that it was not scary and he did not want the girls to look for problems on their own because of him, the girls still did not lag behind him. One of them said that she needed to let her understand that she shouldn't behave so impudently with Lin's head. Bai Qiao recognized this guy. At that moment, Wu Yaoyao caught Bai Qiao eavesdropping on Lin Gu and asked what the guy was doing here. He replied in a whisper that he was eavesdropping on gossip. The guy asked the girl to be quieter. Wu Yaoyao replied that this was very suspicious. She asked if Bai Qiao was spying on the girls. He replied that this was not so and today he had already seen enough of the girls, all his eyes were calloused. Wu Yaoyao said that this was wonderful, and she forcefully sat the guys down on the bench. He was surprised. She confidently stated that later Bai Qiao would only look at her. The guy said that he understood everything. He was surprised by the girl's persistence. She plopped down on the bench next to the guy and said that considering that he behaved very boldly today and even played along with her, she would do something for him. Wu Yaoyao smiled slyly and was going to reward Bai Qiao to help the beautiful girl put on her socks. If he does this, he can go home. Wu Yaoyao gave her leg to the guy and placed it on Bai Qiao's knee. The guy didn't know what to do, he grimaced. The girl was surprised by the guy's reaction. She stated that her feet were clean and besides, he wasn't even interested in what he was being awarded for. Bai Qiao cleared his throat, he said embarrassedly that he thought Wu Yaoyao had misunderstood everything. The guy was about to say that he didn't like this at all, but at that moment, a sharp arrow was presented to his face. The guy was sweating with fear. Right in front of his face, Wu Yaoyao stood with an enraged look, holding a bow and arrows in her hands. She stated that the guy still liked it. Bai Qiao, without hesitation, grabbed Wu Yaoyao's white socks and decided to please the girl after all, since she was seriously afraid for her life. He knelt down in front of Wu Yaoyao, holding her socks in his hands. The guy looked depressed, he clearly didn't want to do it. He slowly began to put the socks on Wu Yaoyao's feet. The girl was beside herself with happiness. The guy didn't like this whole situation at all. The guy replied that it was indeed a great honor for him to put socks on a beautiful girl. Wu Yaoyao thought that it was good that the guy understood this. The girl lay down on Bai Qiao's shoulder. She wanted to really thank the guy for seeing her off today. Bai Qiao noticed that the girl seemed to know Lin Gu well. He wanted to find out what was going on between them. Wu Yaoyao was embarrassed and looked at Bai Qiao in surprise. The girl thought that Bai Qiao was jealous of her. She was incredibly happy about this fact, and animatedly reached out to him. Yesterday, at the archery competition, Lin Gu approached Wu Yaoyao when she was alone and asked why she was still here, since it was already so late. Lin Gu was a member of the Kyudo club from another school. The girl had never interacted with him much, so such gestures were strange for her. Lin Gu extended his hand towards Wu Yaoyao when the performance was announced. The girl did not understand what the guy wanted. The girl dropped her bow to the ground out of surprise. Lin Gu began to pester Wu Yaoyao. He pushed the girl against the wall and grabbed her hand. Lin Gu asked if she was left to wait for him. The guy was clearly interested in the girl. Therefore, Wu Yaoyao slapped him. She no longer knew what he said to others. But today at the performance many were unhappy with the presence of the girl. Bai Qiao kept listening to Wu Yaoyao's story. He realized that everyone was discussing the girl behind her back. Bai Qiao wanted to offer something to help his friend. He looked in surprise at Wu Yaoyao, who was lying on his shoulder. The girl leaned on him sweetly, closed her eyes and fell asleep lying on Bai Qiao. Bai Qiao thought that she was not really sleeping, but was just pretending to be asleep. He carefully took her head in his hands. The girl still did not wake up. Bai Qiao wanted to make sure that she was sleeping. He carefully looked at her face. The girl blushed with embarrassment. Wu Yaoyao thought that Bai Qiao was going to kiss her since their faces were fucking very close to each other. At that moment, the guy put the girl's head on her bag. Wu Yaoyao was shocked. She was expecting something completely different. The guy was about to quietly sneak away, but the girl shouted after him to wait. He realized that she was not sleeping. She fiercely pinned him against the wall with her leg. The guy was afraid of such pressure. Wu Yaoyao was extremely angry that the guy did not understand the hints of the girl he loved. She stated that Bai Qiao knew absolutely nothing about girls' hearts, and if he notices that a girl is sleeping soundly, shouldn't he gently pick her up and carry her home? The guy was embarrassed. He asked if this was another story from a women's magazine. Wu Yaoyao realized that the guy saw all her women's magazines that fell out of her purse. The girl immediately felt awkward. She called Bai Qiao a fool. Tears appeared in her eyes. The girl was furious at such an attitude towards her. She turned around abruptly and eagerly prepared to go home to change clothes. She told Bai Qiao to go back to school alone. The guy grinned. He was amused by the girl's reaction. On the way home, the guy thinks that despite the fact that Lin Gu deceived those three girls, Bai Qiao becomes ashamed of him. The guy thought that he had to prevent what these three were planning to do to Wu Yaoyao, but he was constantly haunted by the feeling that something was wrong. At that second, the guy understood everything. He stopped abruptly and remembered that when they met, Lin Gu behaved in such a way that the guy would leave early. And then Lin Gu, he can't give free rein to these girls, and who knows what they will do to Wu Yaoyao. Bai Qiao had to help his friend. Those three girls boldly approached Wu Yaoyao and asked if she knew what was happening. The girl did not understand at all what they were talking about. Wu Yaoyao asked what the three of them were up to. The girl did not know these three girls. At this moment, unexpectedly, one of the girls slapped Wu Yaoyao in the face with all her might. She said that this slap was for Head Lin. The girl was very angry. Wu Yaoyao realized that these girls were fans of Lin Gu. She replied that garbage likes to gather in a pile. The girl was very angry that Wu Yaoyao called her trash. She grabbed the girl by the collar and began to shake her furiously, trying to teach her a lesson. Wu Yaoyao replied in a calm tone that of course these girls and Lin Gu were just a bunch of trash. The girl was furious. She swung at Wu Yaoyao again and told her to shut her mouth. The girl did not have time to hit Wu Yaoyao. Someone grabbed her hand and interrupted their showdown. It was Bai Qiao, who came to Wu Yaoyao's aid just in time. He asked the girls if they liked being controlled. The guy talked about Lin Gu's manipulations. The girl abruptly pulled out her hand and slapped Bai Qiao in the face. She and Lin Gu were connected by love. In her opinion, Bai Qiao should have nothing to do with this. The guy looked at the girl angrily. There was a mark left on his cheek from the slap. The girl tensed up and asked why the guy was staring at her like that. She was scared. Wu Yaoyao ran up to Bai Qiao. She excitedly took his hand and said that the guy had nothing to do with it. She was scared and thought that Bai Qiao should leave here. The girl tried to protect the guy. The guy suddenly hugged Wu Yaoyao's waist. He didn't dry the girl. Bai Qiao easily lifted the girl and took her in his arms. Bai Qiao invited the girl to leave together. Wu Yaoyao was happy because of such a noble gesture from the guy. She fell in love with him even more. Wu Yaoyao pressed herself to the guy's chest, tears flowed from her eyes, and she agreed to leave together. This girl called out to the guys and asked what the payback was, if they thought they could just leave. Bai Qiao is already tired of this situation and all these showdowns. He sighed heavily, holding the girl in his arms. The guy told Lin Gua to go out, because everything was already bad, but if he found the guy himself, it would be even worse. Bai Qiao was right. Lin Gua was indeed observing this whole situation nearby. Lin Gua began to make excuses. He said that it was not he who started all this and the young man was just passing by. At this moment, Lin Gua was punched with all his might. He was terrified. At that moment, Bai Qiao hit the guy with such force that he flew far away. Shocked girls watched all this. Lin Gua did not expect such decisive actions from Bai Qiao. There was a trace of his fist on his face. Bai Qiao said, returning the slap. Lin Gua sat on the ground in surprise. Bai Qiao threatened that if such a situation repeats, everyone will know about his actions, because the guy has a recording from the cameras of the sports complex, where Lin Gua pesters Wu Yaoyao. He told Lin Gua to think about his actions. Lin Gua realized all his mistakes. He began to cry, and said that there would be no next time, and he understood everything. Lin Gua bowed deeply to Bai Qiao and Wu Yaoyao as the guys left the scene. The girls were confused. They did not understand what it all meant, and why their eldest was so disgraced. The girls realized that Lin Gua is a loser who does not deserve their love. They were disappointed in the guy. At this time, Wu Yaoyao was walking arm in arm with Bai Qiao. She was flattered by the guy's actions. The guys came to the shore of the lake. Bai Qiao sat down and looked thoughtfully at the water. Wu Yaoyao brought the guy a can of soda and pressed it against Bai Qiao's neck. The guy asked what it was. There was ice-cold cola in the jar, and the girl told Bai Qiao to put it on her face, so the beating would go away faster. It would be difficult for him to explain if someone saw Bai Qiao with a bruise on her face. Wu Yaoyao asked how the guy knew what those girls and Lin Gu were up to. Bai Qiao opened a can of cola and said that Lin Gu initially turned them against Wu Yaoyao by making them look pitiful. And then Lin Gu wanted to pretend to be a hero who saved the beauty. It was like a typical manhwa story. Wu Yaoyao moved closer to the guy. She noticed that he was smart for understanding Lin Gu's plans so quickly. She asked if this meant that Bai Qiao decided to take a different scenario to save the beauty. The girl smiled sweetly. Bai Qiao also moved closer to the girl. She did not expect this, and tensed. The guy asked if he really saved the beauty. The girl jumped away from him and asked what the guy meant. At this moment, Wu Yaoyao thought of something. Bai Qiao was already wary, because she was going to offer him something. Wu Yaoyao said that since the guy is now her hero, Bai Qiao will be responsible for her. The guy was the hero the girl was going to follow. Bai Qiao had already arrived home after the competition. The guy began to wash the dishes in his kitchen. Bai Qiao was wiping the plates when he suddenly heard a notification arrive on his phone. The guy received a message from Wu Yaoyao. She asked why the guy ran away after lunch. Bai Qiao remembered how he ran as fast as he could from Wu Yaoyao, who was furiously catching up with him. Bai Qiao read the message and thought that this was a very awkward situation, and if he had not escaped, he would have died on the spot. At this time, someone was peeping maliciously from behind him. His sister approached Bai Qiao from behind. She looked at his phone and asked if the guy was talking to a bad girl. The girl pouted. The guy quickly put the phone away and tried to justify that it was a message with an advertisement from the store. The guy jumped away from his sister. The girl didn't believe him. She had just gotten out of the shower. She was wearing only a towel. Bai Qiao's tone made her doubtful. The guy received a message on his phone again. He thought that this was clearly not the right time for correspondence. His sister was looking at him intently. Bai Qiao was frightened by her persistent gaze. The girl asked why her brother was so nervous and if he had any problems. The guy said that he had no problems, but his sister didn't believe him and demanded to see his phone. The girl forced Bai Qiao to the floor, pressed his head to the parquet. She took his phone from his hands and wanted to check who the guy was communicating with. There was a password on Bai Qiao's phone. The girl tried to guess it. She thought it was her birthday, but it turned out not to be so. Sister Bai Qiao was upset and thought that the guy was really a fool and she should teach him a lesson. The girl looked closely at the guy. The sister released Bai Qiao and said that he had actually received an advertising notification from an online store. However, the girl was up to something. She smiled slyly and wanted to teach her brother a lesson. The girl said that for now, Bai Qiao's phone will remain with her. She wanted to hide the phone under her towel. She slowly placed it on her chest. However, the phone fell through the towel. He fell sharply to the floor. The guys looked in surprise at the fallen phone. They were worried that it wouldn't break. The girl pouted and was offended by the guy. Her name was Lulu. Bai Qiao tried to smooth the situation over. He suggested that she do something else she wanted. Lulu was instantly delighted. She asked if the guys could do what she wanted. The guy already thought it was a bad idea to give her such freedom of action, but he still agreed. Bai Qiao was overcome by an incomprehensible anxiety. Lulu put Bai Qiao's head on her lap and was about to do something. The guy wondered if they were really brother and sister, and where the girl got such a strange hobby. The girl recalled that her brother said that they could do whatever she wanted. Lulu slowly turned the guy's head towards herself. The girl was going to clean his ears, as it gives her a lot of positive emotions. She asked how such a relaxing hobby could be strange. Lulu took out her ear cleaning tools and started cleaning the guy's ears. She also cleaned everything inside the ears. The girl did everything with great pleasure. Lulu leaned down to the guy's ear and blew all the dirt off it. Bai Qiao was embarrassed. Bai Qiao experienced a not very pleasant sensation due to cleaning his ears. He turned comfortably on his side and looked at his sister, who was right in front of his eyes. Her towel opened up a little. The guy looked at her in surprise. The girl looked very seductive. Her underwear was visible, and the towel opened even more, exposing her young body. The guy embarrassedly stood up from the girl's lap. He asked her to wait. He felt awkward. Lulu asked what was wrong again. Bai Qiao said that he wanted to turn his back on her because he was going to send a message to one bad girl, and if his sister Yandere saw this, she would be angry. The girl was angry and patted the guy on the cheek. She told him not to make fun of her, and since he was on the phone, then to sit silently. Bai Qiao was in pain. The guy took the phone in his hands and began to read the many messages that had accumulated during this time. Wu Yaoyao wrote to him and asked why he did not respond to the girl's messages. The guy also received a message from the president of the student council. She called the guy dear and asked how he was doing. Bai Qiao sighed and thought that the environment on his campus was scary. The guy didn't want to go to school tomorrow and asked his sister if he could not go. The girl remembered that tomorrow was Saturday and he shouldn't go. She leaned towards Bai Qiao's ear and asked if he forgot that tomorrow was Saturday. They had plans for that day. Lulu put on a scary look and asked if her brother had forgotten that he was going to see her performance tomorrow. Bai Qiao remembered that tomorrow there would be a city dance competition for teenagers. He assured his sister that he would definitely go to see her. The guy began to make excuses that although he had forgotten that tomorrow was Saturday, he still felt that there would be some important business tomorrow and therefore was looking for an excuse not to go to campus. Lulu didn't believe him. She looked scary and asked if he would definitely come. The guy was ready to do anything to prevent his sister from killing him. He said that he would definitely come to the girl's performance. The girl was happy and said that was enough for today. She went to bed. Tomorrow evening they were supposed to meet at the theater. Bai Qiao picked up the phone, finally having the opportunity to answer the messages from the student council president. Tan Xian asked Bai Qiao how the guy was doing. The girl had already noticed that the guy had read it, but he must be busy with something or his phone was dead, so he didn't answer her. The guy told the girl that she was probably joking and asked if she had anything to do with him. The girl told him that tomorrow was Saturday, and she had some plans for that day. Bai Qiao replied that Tan Xian must be tired from work, so she should take a good rest. The guy was going to go to bed. They were going to see the president on Monday. The girl thanked Bai Qiao for her concern. In order to thank the guy, she would go to his house tomorrow morning and have fun with him. She added a heart emoji at the end of the message. The guy did not expect such a step from Tan Xian. Tomorrow morning was not suitable for their meeting. If Bai Lu sees that the chairman will come to him in the morning, then the guy will probably no longer be a tenant. The next day came, the weather was beautiful and warm outside. Bai Qiao received a message from Lulu. She was already at the theater and getting ready for the dress rehearsal. She reminded him that the guy was supposed to come to her performance that evening. The guy managed to send his sister to the theater in advance, and he hurried to the library in advance to avoid danger and saved himself from the terrible massacre with Lulu. The guy did everything not to meet the chairman. He was very proud of himself because he is a great strategist. At that moment, someone from behind asked if the guy would like coffee. Bai Qiao smiled and thanked him for the coffee. He took the cup in his hands and began to enjoy the drink. At that moment he realized that it was strange that someone offered him coffee. He had never expected this. The guy experienced the familiar feeling of someone pressing their chest against his back. The girl said hello. Tan Xian was standing right behind him. The guy was very surprised to see the girl, since he did everything not to meet her today. In the establishment where the guys were sitting on the stove preparing delicious food, the smells enveloped the entire room, whetting the appetite of the visitors. Bai Qiao and Tan Xian sat silently at the far table, waiting for their breakfast. The kids finally got their treats, but there was still silence at the table. The guy finally decided to ask the girl a question. Bai Qiao immediately began to nervously eat his food. He was uncomfortable with the look of the chairman. The guy asked the chairman how she knew that he was hiding in the library. The girl looked intently at the guy. Tan Xian was wearing a very revealing outfit. She took her food out of the bag and took it in her hand. The girl blushed and brought the sweetness to her mouth. She asked if Bai Qiao knew why the hare fell into a trap so easily. She shook the crumbs from her mouth and smiled sweetly. Everyone around her noticed her and thought she was very beautiful. Bai Qiao tried not to even look at the girl. He placed his food so that it could not be seen. He asked why. The chairwoman smiled and was ready to give him an answer. The girl took Bai Qiao's hand and answered, because he is a cowardly hare. The guy didn't quite understand what she was talking about. Tan Xian was clearly talking about Bai Qiao himself. She continued that as soon as the hunter makes the slightest sound, so the hare will immediately run in fear in the other direction. She seductively moved closer to the young man. At the same time, a smart hunter only needs to know the habits of a hare in order to set a trap. The guy was trembling with fear. And in this case, the hare will fall into the trap of his own free will. The girl approached Bai Qiao and wiped the mugs from his lips. She asked if what she said was true. Tan Xian smiled sweetly and began to hum something about a little bunny, which I associate with Bai Qiao. It finally dawned on the guy that the bunny was actually him. The guy got scared and asked why the girl still hasn't found a boyfriend, because she's so smart. The traitor thought about this question. She began to answer the guy. The girl winked at Bai Qiao and replied that if she falls in love, then no one can escape from her. The guy was in shock. He didn't understand where this white fox learned such things and why she smiles when she tells him all this. Bai Qiao tried to change the topic. He became embarrassed and asked why Tan Xian was looking for him. The girl smiled and said that she wanted to see the guy. Bai Qiao thought that this was not the only reason. The girl thought about it and said that she also wanted to go on a blind date. The guy jumped up from the table. He tried to find an excuse, saying that he was not feeling well today, so he said goodbye to the girl. At that moment, as the guy was about to leave, Tan Xian kicked the young man's leg with her foot, so that he lost his balance. The guy began to fall. He stretched out his hands for someone to help him, trying to stay on his feet. The chairman grabbed Bai Qiao's hand. She held the young man tightly. The girl blushed and asked if the deputy wanted to take her hand. She pretended to be sweet and innocent. She asked if Bai Qiao really wanted her to scream. The girl smiled sweetly. Hearing this, Bai Qiao sat back. Apparently he could not leave the library without the girl's permission. He thought that now someone else would scream, the guy himself. The girl held his leg between her legs and hummed something to herself on the tray. Tian Xiang slowly ran her foot over his ankle, lifting his pant leg. The girl called Bai Qiao dear. She smiled seductively and continued to address Bai Qiao. The girl pulled her hand towards the guy's face, wanting to touch him. With a sharp movement of her hand, she grabbed Bai Qiao by the bunny ears and asked if he really wanted this. The guy was sweating with fear. He apologized to the chairman and said that he was already feeling better. After some time, the guys were already getting ready to leave the library. Tan Xian, sitting back on the chair, said that the guy just needs to meet one person and that's all. She replied that there was no need to be so nervous, everything would go smoothly. The girl made herself more comfortable on the chair. The guy asked if she knew how many guys at school wanted to skin him when the girl used him as an excuse. Bai Qiao did not want to face certain death. Tan Xian smiled slyly. She had a plan to solve this situation and convince the guy. The girl took something out of her dress. She was going to offer this to whoever would go to meet her today. Bai Qiao's eyes lit up. He really wanted to get it. The guy looked at the thing carefully. He immediately realized what it was. In her hands, Tan Xian held the game disc. Signal fire 4, re-release. The guy instantly ran towards him. Bai Qiao grabbed the disc in his hands. The game should officially be released only in 3 months. The guy didn't understand how the girl got him. The chairwoman knew that the guy loved this game. She asked him what the guy thought about her proposal now. Bai Qiao bowed obediently and replied that he would go with the girl wherever she wanted. Tan Xian achieved her goal. She was happy with her success. The guys left the library. Bai Qiao asked the chairman to tell her about this terrible person. He needed to know what to prepare for. The girl thoughtfully adjusted her hat. She was going to tell the guy a story about this man. This guy's family returned from abroad and is on the list of the world's top 500 entrepreneurs and runs a family business with the Tan Xian family. At the last banquet, their parents hinted that they should get to know each other better. This has already happened, that the parents of young people tried to set them up, but now Tan Xian must definitely refuse him. Bai Qiao asked why the girl shouldn't take a closer look at this guy, because then she would stop bullying him all day long. The girl pressed herself close to Bai Qiao and replied that this would not happen, because she had not yet played enough with the guy, and he was so interesting. The girl put her hat on Bai Qiao. He was embarrassed and thought that the chairman always says very strange things. At this moment, a person approached them and called Tan Xian while she hugged Bai Qiao. This man said that he did not expect to meet the girl in this way. Tanya Xian looked at him in surprise, but he approached. At this time, Bai Qiao was in an awkward position. The guy was very embarrassed and held the girl's hat in his hands. The person who approached the guys was Ning Yi. The girl did not expect to meet the guys here. She straightened her hair behind her ear. Bai Qiao tried to escape from Tan Xiang's embrace. He pushed her and asked what Ning Yi was doing here. The girl replied that she was just passing by. Ning Yi remembered that she forgot to give Bai Qiao something. The girl was holding 2 coffee coupons in her hands. She asked Bai Qiao to look at the expiration date of the discount coupon and remember to exchange it. Ning Yi said that she would not distract the guys from their date. She waved to the guy, turned around and left. Bai Qiao remembered that Ning Yi said that she would wait for the guy's answer at this time the day after tomorrow about whether he would agree to pretend to be her boyfriend. Bai Qiao was sweating and he realized that she would be waiting for his answer. The guy fell into a very awkward position. At this moment, the guy remembers that today he also has to come to his sister's dance competition in the afternoon. Bai Qiao was terrified because so many things had piled up in one day. He didn't understand how to manage everything and not upset any of the girls. The guy looked at his watch and thought that he should exchange the coupon for coffee. He was surprised that he, a man hiding in the Tang, had such a good relationship with everyone's desired beauty. Bai Qiao looked closely at Tan Xian. The girl did not understand what he wanted to do. Bai Qiao had very little time to do everything about everything. He grabbed the girl by the hand and dragged her on a blind date. Tan Xian didn't understand why the guy was in such a hurry. It was not easy for her to run in heels. The guys went on a blind date with Tan Xian's boyfriend. The guy was already waiting for her in the restaurant. He smiled when he saw the girl. The next moment he saw Bai Qiao standing behind the girl. The guy asked who she brought. He was not happy with the uninvited guest. Tan Xian was out of breath from running so fast. She still couldn't catch her breath. It seemed to her that Bai Qiao was a fool. The girl was so tired that she had already forgotten the essence of the matter. Drops of sweat ran down her face. The girl grabbed the guy's hand. She pinched him, meaning that he should pretend. The girl introduced Bai Qiao. She said that this was the deputy of their student union and they accidentally met on the street and decided to eat for free. Bai Qiao greeted awkwardly. Chen Yun, that was the name of the girl's boyfriend, was clearly unhappy with this situation. He wanted to spend the evening alone with the girl. The guy frowned. The guy calmed down his emotions and said that Tan Xian's friends are his friends and of course he doesn't mind. The young man invited the guys to sit down. He thought that Bai Qiao was a freeloader and even dared to hold the girl's hand. Compared to him, he would obviously seem perfect. Tan Xian nervously fiddled with her dress. She thought that Bai Qiao really was a fool. It is obvious that he went with the girl to use her as a shield. Tan Xian didn't know what to do with herself, she was adjusting the laces on her sandals. The girl was angry that Bai Qiao now didn't mind talking to his rival. At this time, the guys were pleasantly discussing something while eating. Seeing this, Tan Xian called Bai Qiao and picked up a piece of meat with chopsticks. The girl moved close to the guy and put a piece of meat on his plate. She told him to stop talking, he'd better eat. After all, after lunch the guys have other things to do. The girl smiled slyly, clinging to Bai Qiao's hand. The guy agreed. Chen Yun was angry as he watched the guy's cute interaction. He was not happy that the girl moved so close to the guy. After all, this was his date. Chen Yun was convinced that Bai Qiao was not worthy of Tan Xian. The guy was jealous. He put his hand in his pocket. Chen Yun stood up from the table, walked over to Bai Qiao and put his hand on his shoulder. The guy didn't know Bai Qiao very well yet and invited him to have a drink and chat a little more. Chen Yun held his wallet in his pocket. He said that this restaurant serves very tasty dessert wine and they should definitely try it. Bai Qiao felt awkward. He didn't really know how to drink alcoholic beverages. Chen Yun said that everything is fine and the guy will just try. Hearing this, Tang Xiang came up with a brilliant idea. She thought she should drink some wine, and after that, pretend to be drunk to seduce Bai Qiao. The girl imagined herself falling into Bai Qiao's arms and saying that she was drunk. At this time, Chen Yun would look at the guys with envy. He was very angry at how much attention the girl Bai Qiao was paying. Tan Xian thought that this would solve all her problems, and she would have a lot of fun watching her boyfriend get angry. Tan Xian perked up and said that this was a great idea. Good wine should not be missed. The girl agreed to have a drink with the guys. Bai Qiao was surprised that they would actually drink. Tan Xiang had never seen Bai Qiao drunk. The guy replied that he could only drink a little. At this time, Chen Yun grinned slyly. Everything was going according to his plan. The guys ordered the best red wine in the restaurant. They were about to drink and clinked glasses. Tan Yen was planning to drink some wine and immediately pretend to be drunk in order to carry out her plan. She raised the glass to her lips. At that moment, the girl saw something wrong. An incomprehensible sound was heard next to her. The culprit was Bai Qiao. The guy was already drunk. He fell head first on the table and almost lost consciousness. Everything went according to Chen Yun's plan. He was probably going to get Bai Qiao drunk. The guy smiled slyly. He pretended to regret offering the guy a drink. He was going to go pay the bill and then send the guy home, and she and Tan Xian would have retired somewhere else. The girl hugged Bai Qiao and told Chen Yun not to say that, because she was not in the mood to communicate with him before. At this time, Bai Qiao was sleeping on the girl. Chen Yun went to pay the bill. Bai Qiao and Tan Xian remained sitting at the table. At that moment Bai Qiao woke up and mumbled something. He pressed the girl closer to him, buried his face. The guy thought she smelled delicious. Tan Xian felt awkward. She patted the guy on the back, trying to bring him to his senses. The guy asked if the girl could stand up on her own. Bai Qiao tried to get up from the table. His knees were shaking. He could not stand on his feet. It looks like the guy was so drunk that he couldn't stand. At this moment, he leaned down. Tang Xiang was very alarmed. The girl grabbed the guy by the arm, saving the young man from falling. She held Bai Qiao to prevent him from falling, and the girl smiled sweetly. Bai Qiao was drunk, his face was red, and he was still unable to stand. The guy desperately tried to get up. The girl saw something appear from Bai Qiao's pocket. It was Chen Yun's wallet. It fell out of Bai Qiao's pocket onto the floor, at which point the guy asked if anyone had seen his wallet. Tan Xiang thought that something was wrong, and apparently Chen Yun planted Bai Qiao's wallet. Chen Yun noticed his wallet lying on the floor near Bai Qiao. He kept wondering why he couldn't find it. The guy bent down and picked up the missing item. Chen Yun pretended that he thought that the wallet was stolen by Bai Qiao. He blamed the guy for it. This was his plan. Chen Yun threw the wallet on the table and said that stealing is a crime, and they must obey the laws. The guy was very pleased with himself, as everything went according to plan. Bai Qiao was so drunk that he didn't understand what was happening. He asked indistinctly whether someone's wallet had been stolen. The guy was lying on the table at that time. The guy got up from the table. He told Chen Yun to look for his wallet for now, and he would pay for everything. Bai Qiao reached into his pocket. Chen Yun clearly didn't need this from the guy. He grinned and took out his phone. The guy was going to call the police, since Bai Qiao, in his opinion, was making a fool of himself, and they would sort everything out. Tan Xian picked up a glass of wine, she brought it to her lips and said that it's enough to put on a performance here. If Chen Yun continues to play a comedy here, then the girl will commit a real crime. She was serious. Chen Yun grinned and pretended that he didn't understand what the girl was talking about. The guy was sure that Tan Yen saw Bai Qiao's wallet fall out of her pocket. He believed that this kind of guy was not suitable for the girl. Chen Yun said that the girl should not protect him, because he had already seen many guys of this kind of mind. At that moment, Tan Xian suddenly splashed wine in the guy's face. He was dumbfounded. The girl asked if the guy had now come to his senses, if his performance was over. Chen Yun was furious. The girl put her foot on the table and proudly asked who Chen Yun thought he was. Tan Xian didn't care about his dirty tricks or his words towards the girl's family, as long as he didn't interfere in her life. The guy did not expect such words from the girl. She stated that if Chen Yun ruined Bai Qiao's future, she would not tolerate it. The girl was glad that she saw through Chen Yun's cunning plans earlier, otherwise tomorrow there would be one more concrete pillar under the bridge. Chen Yun realized that it was better not to mess with Tan Xian. He was sitting all wet with an angry look opposite the girl. Tan Xian placed the empty glass on the table opposite Chen Yun. He was humiliated. The girl approached Bai Qiao. He still had not come to his senses and was drinking. The girl hugged him and looked at the guy with a pitiful look. Tan Xian felt guilty. She thought that the guy was almost taken to the police because of her. She took Bai Qiao's arm, and the guys headed out of the restaurant. Tan Xian took the guy outside. She decided to sit on a bench. Bai Qiao was lying on her lap. The girl fanned him, we believe, to bring him to his senses. Bai Qiao finally came to his senses. He was still not feeling well. He asked what time it was. Tan Xian replied that it was 4 o'clock in the morning. When the guy opened his eyes, he saw that the girl's breasts were right above him. The guy jumped up. He was late for his sister's performance. The guy couldn't imagine how upset Lulu would be. Tan Xian hit Bai Qiao on the head with her fan. She called him a fool and said that she had deceived the guy. It was not too late. The girl was surprised that the guy believed everything he was told, and it was not surprising that he was almost framed by Qinyu. Bai Qiao didn't understand what the girl was talking about. Before, no one smiled as much when talking to Qinyu as Bai Qiao. Tan Xian advised not to trust those who wear masks and smile under any circumstances, as this could end badly for the guy. The guy shouldn't have believed Tan Xian either, since she often pretends. The guy got embarrassed and turned away. Bai Qiao thanked the girl for her help. He was embarrassed that she helped him. The girl sharply pressed Bai Qiao's head to her knees. She had a good idea. The girl believed that Bai Qiao should give himself to her as gratitude. She smiled sweetly. The guy was shocked by Tan Xian's proposal. He was clearly not ready for this. Bai Qiao jumped up sharply and said that he might be late and he needed to be at his sister's performance. The guy instantly rushed away from the girl. The girl sat, stunned by such a quick change in the young man's mood. Tan Xian caught up with him, grabbed his hand and offered to take the subway together. Bai Qiao said that he only had one ticket for his sister's performance, and there was no way the girl could go with him. At this moment, Tan Xian pulled out 2 more tickets for VIP seats from behind her. Sasha had the most ordinary ticket. The guy was very surprised. He asked her the girl got the tickets. She said that this was for her and Bai Qiao's next goal, and her father gave her the tickets. Tan Xian knows that Bai Qiao's sister does ballet, and she thought that the guy would be interested in this, and it just so happened that she would be performing there. The guy doubted the sincerity of the girl's words. It was clearly not just a coincidence. She had thought through everything. The girl asked the guy if he agreed to go with her. Bai Qiao agreed, but wanted to ask something. The guy asked why he was being held by the waist. Tan Xian did this because the guy was drunk. He replied that he had already sobered up. The girl was getting closer and closer to him. She said that's what all drunk people say. After some time the guys had to stop. Tan Xian untied the ribbons on her shoes. The girl's legs were tired. Her shoes were high-heeled and were not very comfortable to walk in. She began to take them off. As soon as Tan Xian took off her shoes, she immediately felt much better. The girl continued to walk barefoot. Bai Qiao stared at Tan Xian's bare legs. She seductively asked where he was looking and whether Sasha really had secrets about his passion. The guys got to the theater. Ballet groups were already performing on stage. Beautiful music was heard throughout the concert hall. Slender girls gracefully danced ballet on stage. Tan Xian sat sadly on one of the chairs in the hall. she was wearing men's shoes, she hoped that she would find out about the deputy's secret hobbies. The girl did not expect that Bai Qiao would be so worried about her bare feet. He invited Tan Xian to wear his shoes. The girl looked closely at the guy and blushed. She thought he was a fool. At this time, Bai Qiao was watching the performance intently. Tan Xian poked his cheek with her finger and said, "Don't be so nervous, because it's his sister on stage, not him." Bai Qiao saw something on the stage and grabbed Tan Xian's hand. The girl blushed. Bai Qiao jumped up from his chair and pointed at his sister. She was in the very center of the stage. The guy noticed something. The guy noticed that her dress was cracking at the seams. Bai Qiao was horrified. A second later, the lacing on the dress burst at the most inopportune moment. Lulu was surprised. The performance was stopped. The girls did not understand what was happening and what had happened. Bai Lu sat right in the middle of the stage, covering herself with her hands. Bai Qiao thought that this was a real disaster. He grabbed his head. At this time, from behind the scenes, someone slyly looked out onto the stage and watched the girl's failure. Apparently this girl was the culprit of the unexpected failure of the suit. She grinned and laughed. It's time to announce the winners of the competition. The dancers were already in the dressing room. Bai Lu was taking off her white tights. The first place was taken by the ballet group Ladies' Fingers from the Qixia region. Lulu was very upset to hear this. These girls were awarded the brightest applause. She looked at her diploma with fourth place. The girl was depressed and was about to burst into tears. She really wanted to win this competition. And at that moment, she saw Bai Qiao enter her dressing room. The guy asked if his sister was okay. The girl was clearly not okay. She burst into tears when she saw her brother. Bai Lu rushed into Bai Qiao's arms. He asked excitedly why she was sitting there alone. The girl cried and said that all her efforts were in vain. Bai Qiao tried her best to support her. Bai Qiao hugged his sister, while someone stroked her head. It was Tan Xian. She said that the girl was on top and all the questions were only about the costume, and if she took first place, then everyone would be happy. She was worried that Bai Qiao was now worried. The guy was surprised that Tan Xian appeared in the locker room. Bai Lu abruptly pushed her brother away from the girl. Tan Xian called her sis and said that she came to watch her perform. The girl demanded to stop calling her little sister. Tan Xian said that she is the deputy's sister, which means she is too. The girls continued to argue with each other. At this time, Bai Qiao remembered their first meeting. Then Bai Lu almost attacked Tan Xian with a knife. Bai Lu grabbed her brother's hand and dragged him somewhere. The girl was jealous of Bai Qiao and Tan Xian. The girl said that they were returning home. She got up to run towards the exit. Bai Lu looked at the girl and said that there is one bad, cunning lady here who is ready to devour the guy without a trace. The girl stuck her tongue out at Tan Xian. At this moment, Tan Xian grabbed Bai Qiao's other hand. She pulled him towards her and asked Bai Lu to cool down, because she also treats Bai Qiao very well. The girl simply tore the guy into two parts. Tan Xian asked her deputy if what she said was true. The girl was beside herself with anger. She believed that the girl was unworthy of her brother's attention. Tan Xian pressed herself close to Bai Qiao. She looked at him seductively and waited for an answer from him. The guy was very embarrassed. He replied that the chairman was really very kind to him and in the end they all live on the same planet and why shouldn't they live in peace. At this time, Bai Lu looked intently at how the girl was holding the guy's hand. She was very angry when she saw how close Bai Qiao was with Tan Xian. She didn't like it. The girl grabbed both hands, trying to break their connection. Bai Lu stated that the guys should not be so close. She abruptly threw the two of them to the sides, away from each other. The girl said that only she could be so close to her brother. At this time, that cunning girl was watching them. She was happy and ran up to Lulu. The girl finally found her. Apparently they were close. She raised her up and said that it was very good that they were in fourth place and next year they would try harder. Bai Lu asked to be released and said that there was nothing good in the fourth place. She pushed the girl against the wall and hugged her. The girl asked Bai Qiao if he was Lulu's older brother. The guy greeted awkwardly. The girl said that Lulu talks about him all day long and doesn't pay attention to her. The girl could not remember the word that could describe their brotherly relationship. Tan Xian helped the girl remember the word brokan. The girl was delighted, complimented Tan Xian and asked if she was Bai Qiao's girlfriend and, if so, she could borrow Lulu. Bai Lu told the girl to shut up. Wu Xiaoyuan was in a very good mood. Lulu grabbed her by the scruff of the neck and dragged her to the locker room because she needed to change clothes. This girl is in charge of the props. The guys looked at this picture. Tan Xian asked Bai Qiao if he understood why his sister failed. The guy thought about it. The band's performance ended, everyone had already gone home. Bai Lu was about to go change clothes, the girl was still in her stage costume. She told her brother to wait for her. Bai Qiao and Wu Xiaoyuan waved to the girl as they sat on the stage. Guy think about it, it seemed to him that the chairman's arguments sounded reasonable. The girl believed that Wu Xiaoyuan had ruined Lulu's costume, but the guy was not sure of the motive. Tan Xian noticed that she was the only one who was not upset about their team's loss to the opponent, she was even very happy. This whole situation seemed suspicious to the girl, but the guy would have to find out the motive himself. The guy looked at Wu Xiaoyuan, he thought that to find out the motive he would have to ask her personal questions. The guy grabbed his head, he didn't understand how he could think about it. Wu Xiaoyuan asked if the guy was upset with Lulu's performance. Bai Qiao replied that this was true, she worked tirelessly for 6 months, and eventually took 4th place. The guy asked if Wu Xiaoyuan carefully checked Lulu's suit, the girl hesitated, she didn't know what to answer the guy. Xiaoyuan felt awkward and replied that all the dance costumes had been thoroughly checked and she didn't know how it happened. The girl thought that perhaps the bright light on the stage was so hot that the threads began to melt. Bai Qiao realized that something was really wrong here. At that moment, the guy's phone began to ring, it was Wu Yaoyao who dialed him. The guy understood the phone. Wu Yaoyao was lying in the bath at that time. She asked if Bai Qiao had died, that he was not answering her message. She asked where he was now. The guy replied that he was at the small theater. The girl asked if he was there alone or went on a date with another girl. The guy thought that he might be able to trick Wu Xiaoyuan. He said into the phone that it was good that there was a CCTV camera behind the scenes to check on the girl. Wu Xiaoyuan perked up instantly. Wu Yaoyao asked if they had a recording of whether the junior high school students performed. At that moment the girl had already jumped out of the water. She asked if Bai Qiao was in her mind. The girl did not understand what he was saying. The guy kept putting on an act, he told her to wait, and that he would be there soon. Wu Xiaoyuan heard his words. He said to call the police if he had to. Wu Xiaoyuan revealed herself, she ran up to the guy and told him not to do this. The girl suddenly grabbed Bai Qiao's jacket, her hands shaking. She replied that she would admit everything. The girl was almost crying. Bai Qiao was very happy and proud of himself for revealing Wu Xiaoyuan. At this time, Wu Yaoyao was sitting in the bathroom and thinking about the dialogue with Bai Qiao that had just ended. She didn't understand which police we were talking about. The girl thought that this might be a code word for the police, especially since Bai Qiao had a strange speech. Everything came together in her head. She thought that Bai Qiao had been kidnapped. The girl got out of the bathroom and took a towel. She proudly wrapped the towel around her wet body and headed out of the bath. Yaoyao Garodo stood and tied a towel. She believed that it was her turn to save the handsome man. However, in her opinion, acting alone was not the best idea if the guy was really in danger. Wu Yaoyao thought what would happen if she went to the guy to help. The girl will obviously be tied up and thrown next to Bai Qiao, so she won't help anyone. The girl did not want such a development of events. Wu Yaoyao thought about what she should do. She kept looking at her phone. The next moment the girl came up with an idea on how to help the young man. Wu Xiaoyuan shared her motives with Bai Qiao. It turns out that Lulu took an oath that she would quit dancing if she took the prize. Bai Qiao was shocked by this information. The girl ruined her tutu just so she could continue dancing. Wu Xiaoyuan apologized, she just wanted Lulu to dance. The girl considered herself very selfish and was willing to do anything to appease Bai Qiao's anger. The guy did not understand anything at all. It was difficult for him to believe that his sister had made such a decision. The girl ran up to Bai Qiao and took him by the shoulders. She asked if he wanted Lulu to believe in her dream and continue dancing. Wu Xiaoyuan adored Lulu and her determination, so he was ready to do anything to support her. She asked if Bai Qiao knew why the girl decided to quit dancing. Wu Xiaoyuan replied that it was all Bai Qiao's fault. The guy was shocked and didn't understand how it was connected. Lulu constantly looked up to her brother, who strives hard and studies diligently. Her brother is trying hard. The girl was very attached to him. No matter what kind of brother he is, Lulu always follows on his heels. And in order to keep up with Bai Qiao and take more care of him, Lulu decided to quit dancing. The girl's heart completely belongs to her brother. Even when Lulu rejected the girl, she showed her a photo of her brother as a reason. The guy was shocked that Wu Xiaoyuan was the person who was rejected by Lulu. Wu Xiaoyuan was jealous of Lulu for Bai Qiao, but still the girl has a love and talent for dancing. And if she quits dancing, she obviously won't be able to remain calm, and most importantly, happy. Bai Qiao thought about Wu Xiaoyuan's words. He didn't understand what to do. At this time, it was raining outside, lightning was flashing, and there was a real thunderstorm. Bai Qiao carried his sister on his shoulders. She was holding an umbrella. Bai Qiao suggested that she take a nap if she was tired. However, in this case, the girl would not be able to hold the umbrella and Bai Qiao would get wet. The guy said that he heard that the girl decided to quit dancing. He asked when she becomes an old woman whether she will regret this decision. Lulu asked who he heard this from. She didn't tell him anything. He honestly admitted that Wu Xiaoyuan said so. The rain did not stop. It loudly drummed on the umbrella that Lulu was carrying. Lulu loudly declared that everything is not as her brother thinks. She squeezed her brother's shoulder tightly and was ready to explain everything to him. The girl blushed and said that until she surpasses that girl and becomes the pride of her brother, she will not give up. The guy was upset that the girl really only thought about him. He wondered which girl. Lulu said he remembered about the photograph that was in his room. It showed a beautiful dark-haired girl. Time never changes anything, it only silently observes from the side. The guy recalled how that girl from the photo left. 2 years have passed and Bai Qiao is not worried about her leaving. However, the emotions will forever remain in his memory. The guy was upset, remembering that situation. For this reason, Bai Qiao no longer wants any recognition. Lulu noticed that Bai Qiao was upset. The girl grabbed her brother's cheek and asked if the boy started thinking about her again as soon as she mentioned that bad girl. Bai Qiao replied that this cannot be and now he thinks that they will eat for dinner. Lulu didn't believe him. The more he said, the more she began to doubt. The guy thought that choosing dances to surpass her was too childish and Lulu was still very small. The girl decisively said that she did not choose dancing because of her. She asked if Bai Qiao didn't remember him talking about his life's work. The guy really didn't remember. Bai Qiao remembered mentoring Lulu when they were little. The guy watched someone on TV explain that there is always something to which you need to devote your life, talked about achieving a goal and the need to make every effort for this. Lulu shouted to the guy that he would stop watching Ultraman, he would rather play with her. The guy didn't understand what to do. One of the elders said that it was time for the girl to get ready for a dance lesson. The guy had an idea how to calm his sister down. He asked if she had heard about her life's work. Lulu didn't understand what her brother was talking about. The guy said that dancing should become the focus of her whole life. Wanting to get rid of his little sister, the guy remembered a couple of adult phrases and forced her to go to the dance. But he could not even imagine that these words would become a motto for her in life and she would begin to dance diligently. Bai Qiao completely forgot how it all started. Lulu glared at Bai Qiao. She did not understand how her brother could forget about his own instructions. The girl believed that Bai Qiao did not care about her sister at all. The guy understood everything, because these were his favorite words from the first episode of Ultraman. The girl was even offended that he only thought about him. At this moment, Bai Qiao noticed something behind him. He turned around sharply. Lulu turned around after him. She was alerted by what she saw. A car was driving straight towards them. Its headlights were brightly on. The car blinded the kids with its headlights. Probably the driver didn't see them because of the heavy rain. The driver turned sharply, trying to brake. Splashes of water hit the guys. Bai Qiao and Lulu were very scared and were not sure that they would survive. Lulu grabbed the umbrella. The girl instantly jumped forward. She opened the umbrella, trying to protect them. However, at that moment, Bai Qiao blocked her path. He stood right in front of her, covered the girl with his body and told his sister to be careful. The girl watched the subsequent events in fear. The car finally stopped. The girl looked down at Bai Qiao in fear. She asked if he was okay. The guys came home. Lulu said that she had an umbrella and he turned straight towards all the splashes, and every time he tries to save everyone from unnecessary trouble, the guy was drying the girl's hair with a towel. She noticed that it's the same with dancing. Every time the guy, tired after his classes, still goes to meet his sister, the girl thought that she was causing a lot of trouble for her brother, which is why she wanted to quit dancing. The guy smiled. He did not agree with the girl's words. The guy continued to dry Lulu's hair as she sat awkwardly on the couch. When the guy became a brother, he immediately realized that he had to take care of the girl. He touched her cheeks. Bai Qiao said that Lulu can't give up dancing. Today she took 4th place, but she must definitely surpass that girl. The guy patted his sister on the head. The girl jumped up and asked if he was using tricks on her. Since he had spent the whole day with that fox, the guy said that everything was wrong and she herself said that Lulu's life's work was to surpass her. Lulu hugged her brother tightly. She felt that he was all wet after the incident with the car. She looked at him happily and offered to help him dry. The girl was all beaming with happiness. The guy felt embarrassed. He told Lulu not to bother himself, because he was able to dry himself. The sister told him not to say anything stupid. She threw him onto the bed. Lulu was sitting right on top of the guy. She was laughing slyly. The girl pulled her hand to Bai Qiao and slyly licked her lips. The girl wanted to see how healthy her brother's tummy was. She started tickling him. The guy didn't like it very much. He asked his sister to stop. The guy started playing around. All sorts of things that were in the guy's pocket were flying around. The coffee coupon that Ning Yi gave him flew into the air. At that moment the guy remembered something. He was dumbfounded. Bai Qiao forgot about Ning Yi and that he had to answer her question tonight. The guy immediately got dressed and ran into the coffee shop. He was very worried that he was late. The girl was already waiting for him at the table. She was reading a book. Ning Yi asked if the problems had been resolved. The guy didn't understand what problem Ning Yi was talking about. He asked how the girl knew that the guy would be late. Ning Yi showed him a message from Wu Yaoyao. She wrote that the guy did not answer the phone. Perhaps he was kidnapped. Yaoyao asked why Ning Yi did not answer. She was in a panic because she thought that he had been kidnapped. Ning Yi told Wu Yaoyao that the guy was probably busy and she would figure everything out herself. The guy felt awkward. He thought that excessive care leads to excessive worry. Bai Qiao felt that if he did not solve the problems, there would be even more problems in the future. He remembered how overprotective Lulu was of him. And Bai Qiao also thought of the scene when the girl in the photo leaves. Bai Qiao sat down at a table with Ning Yi in the cafe where the guys had been the previous time. Bai Qiao clarified whether the girl offered to pretend to be a couple. Ning Yi replied that it was so and asked if the guy had made a decision. It was a wonderful day outside. Birds were singing in the trees. The sun was shining brightly. Street light entered the school through its glass doors. Wu Yaoyao stood leaning against the wall. She heard the door open. The girl looked in surprise towards the door. She was waiting for someone. At this moment, Bai Qiao came through the door. He saw Wu Yaoyao and was confused. The guy looked at her in surprise. He didn't expect to see anyone at school. He got scared and asked what time the girl got up and why she came here so early. The girl folded her hands and pretended that she didn't understand what the guy was talking about. Didn't they meet here by chance? Yaoyao had to ask Bai Qiao something. She grabbed the guy by the hand and dragged him somewhere. The girl asked what she and Ning Yi were doing last night when she found the guy and why he didn't answer the phone. Bai Qiao turned away and did not know what to answer the girl so as not to offend her. The guy thought that they were just discussing some matters with her. The girl turned around sharply and went somewhere. The guy asked what she wanted. Wu Yaoyao guessed everything herself last night. The guy is so passive. Probably what the girl was going to take out of the bag fits his hobbies. Wu Yaoyao began to look for something in her bag. The girl took out a gift for the guy. She prepared a bandage and handcuffs for him. The girl untied the bandage and asked if the guy wanted to try it now. Bai Qiao was at a loss where she learned to use all these things. The girl took out a book with erotic content. She learned most of the information from it, but figured out everything else on her own. The guy ran away instantly. He did not want to participate in such games. The guy ran out into the street. Wu Yaoyao screamed, "Where is he running to?" The girl was practically catching up with him. She asked if he wanted to try to take advantage of her gifts. Janini watched this scene through the window. She was carrying a stack of papers. The girl looked out the window with interest. She could hear everything the guys were talking about. Wu Yaoyao screamed that Bai Qiao was annoying her. The guy said that he was on duty today and he needed to go. The girl tried with all her might to stop him. The guy immediately slipped away somewhere. Wu Yaoyao tried to find him. She even looked in the bushes. Her search was unsuccessful. She shouted to the guy to come back. At this time, the guy was already in the office and wiping the board. Wu Yaoyao stated that when she found him, he would no longer receive fruit juice from her. It seems the girl didn't notice the guy. At this moment, someone called Bai Qiao. He took out his phone from his pocket and looked at it. The guy picked up the phone. The girl who called was painting her toenails at that time. It was Tan Xiang. She said hello. I asked how the guy spent the weekend. The guy said that thanks to the chairman, he had a great weekend. The guy continued to fulfill his duties as a duty officer. After their meeting at the concert, the guy kept cursing Tan Xian. He accused her of eating Lulu's fried celery for a whole week because of the girl. Tian Xiang asked Bai Qiao, since the guy was in a good mood, to help her solve one problem at the tennis club. The girl promised to treat him to coffee. At this moment, something strange began to happen with the connection. The girl stopped hearing Bai Qiao. He said it looked like his phone was running low and hung up. The girl clearly didn't believe him. She turned to the Mandarin and asked her to check whether Bai Qiao was in class. The Mandarin was Shan Wei, the head of the student union's government department. The girl promised to do everything. Bai Qiao felt that there were dangers on campus from all sides. For him it all started again. He was pursued by the abundant attention of girls. At this time, someone came into the office where the guy was wiping the board. She put her hand on Bai Qiao's arm. The guy just now noticed that someone had come. He looked at this man. The girl held Bai Qiao's hand with the board sponge. The guy is already tired of constant attention. It turns out that Ning Yi came into the office and asked if the guy ran away from Wu Yaoyao this morning. The guy asked how the girl knew this. The girl smiled sweetly and straightened her hair. She said that the guys started collaborating last night, and why not take advantage of their fake relationship today? This way the guys would correct all the misunderstanding. The guy was embarrassed and agreed. And Bai Qiao blushed with embarrassment. He couldn't even look at Ning Yi normally. At that moment, the girl was looking intently at Bai Qiao. She was looking at all the features of her face. The girl extended her hand towards Bai Qiao and called his name. Ning Yi stood on her tiptoes. She wanted to kiss the guy. At that moment, Tian Xiang entered the office where the guys were. She was carrying a large stack of papers, and said that she had been waiting for the guy for so long. The president was so shocked by what she saw in the office that she let her stack of papers fall to the floor. At the same moment, Wu Yaoyao ran into the office. She finally found the guy. The girl ran into the office with a joyful look. She came up with something. The girl was dumbfounded when she saw what the guys were doing in the office. In the office, the guys kissed and held hands. They looked in love with each other. Tian Xiang and Wu Yaoyao watched them with a dumbfounded look. The girls could not foresee such a development of events. At this time Ning Yi gently stroked the guy on the head. The girls continued to watch in shock the tenderness of Ning Yi and Bai Qiao. Tang Xiang had a surprised expression on her face, while Wu Yaoyao was extremely angry. Ning Yi gently patted the guy's hair. He was embarrassed. She moved closer and said that the guy had chalk in his hair. The girl wanted to shake it off. The girl asked him to tilt his head a little lower, because she couldn't see everything. The guy blushed because Ning was so close. From the outside it looked like they were kissing, and Wu Yaoyao was watching it all. Tears appeared in Wu Yaoyao's eyes. She nervously pulled her hair. The girl's heart was broken. In an instant, Wu Yaoyao turned around and rushed out of the classroom. The girl cried loudly as she ran down the corridor. Tan Xiang didn't know what to say to the guy. There were scattered sheets of documents around her. The girl began to pick them up. She apologized to Bai Qiao and straightened her hair. Tian Xiang said that she was done and should go. The girl immediately ran out of the classroom. The guy was shocked. The guy was stupefied by such reactions from the girls. Ning Yi did not fully understand what had happened. The girl seemed to hear the voice of Wu Yaoyao and someone else. She dusted her hands off the chalk. The guy scratched his head and said that everything was probably fine. It was probably even better. Bai Qiao still didn't know what to say to Wu Yaoyao, and now he randomly got rid of the burden that lay on his soul. Ning Yi suggested that the guy go to the literary club, because they needed to discuss something with him. The guy agreed and thought that if everything went well, then the problems would be solved naturally. The guys came to the literary club room to talk privately. Someone called the eldest. A guy came into the office. He was a member of a literary club and was holding a stack of papers in his hands. The guys looked at him in surprise. They didn't expect to see anyone else at the literary club. The guy noticed that the deputy was also here. He wanted to ask the guy to leave, because he needed to personally discuss the issues of the literary club with the girl. Bai Qiao was confused. Bai Qiao thought that perhaps it would be better for him to leave and not interfere with the guys talking about work. The girl's gaze changed in an instant. She looked at him with hope, thinking that he understood her hints. This was probably the same guy who confessed to the girl. Bai Qiao gritted his teeth. He realized what he needed to do and how to use their fake relationship. Bai Qiao stood in front of Ning Yi and stated that since we are talking about the club, then that guy has nothing to hide. Bai Qiao refused to leave. The guy asked who Bai Qiao thought he was and whether he wanted to use his position in the student union to dictate to them. Ning Yi replied that Bai Qiao was the deputy of the student union. The girl walked to the door of the literature club. The girl thought about it. She wanted to talk about Bai Qiao's new status as her boyfriend. Ning Yi revealed that she and Bai Qiao were dating. The guy who came in was extremely surprised. He realized that that day the girl was talking about the person she liked and it was Bai Qiao. Ning Yi confirmed this information. The guy was very upset. He dropped all his papers. His heart was broken. The girl walked away proudly. Bai Qiao followed behind her. He looked with pity at the guy who was rejected by Ning Yi. The guy's soul was cold. He sobbed and believed that his life was over. Bai Qiao decided to ask if the guy just wanted to tell the girl that he liked her. Walking out of the office, Ning Yi apologized and bowed low to Bai Qiao. The girl apologized for her self-will. Bai Qiao said that everything was fine. This was the only way to solve this problem, and now that guy will spread the rumor. Bai Qiao asked if it was difficult to refuse her. The girl sighed and replied that it was not difficult at all and there was another candidate. Ning Yi pulled up a chair and asked if the guy had thought about what couples usually do. The girl said that going to school and back together would not be enough to deceive everyone. She invited the guy to join a literary club so they could spend more time together. Ning Yi was embarrassed and lowered her head. She said that there was something else she wanted to do. When the girl was researching the relationship between couples yesterday, she came across a pink app in which lovers leave their mark. She invited them to try it. The guy wondered what app the girl was talking about. Billy came to his mind, but he didn't know that it also teaches people how to date. Ning Yi walked towards Bai Qiao. She wrapped her arms around his neck. The guy was confused. Ning Yi asked the guy to tilt his head slightly to the side again. She told Bai Qiao not to move. The girl approached Bai Qiao's neck. The guy was shocked by what was happening. He became very embarrassed and blushed. The girl kissed the guy on the neck. It was part of her plan. Sasha has a lipstick mark on his neck. Others, seeing him, will think that the guy is dating someone. Now their relationship looked more realistic. The girl smiled sweetly. She did quite well. Bai Qiao was surprised that the girl was well prepared. Now he was calm. Ning Yi sat down on a chair and said that she still had some things to do today, but starting tomorrow they will start moving around. The guy smiled and agreed to honor their fake relationship. Bai Qiao was walking home from school. He went down the stairs. The guy wondered what he was thinking about. If Bai Qiao joins the literature club, he will become its deputy, and the chairwoman may think that he has betrayed the student union. Tang Xian could kill for this. The guy wanted to solve the problem, but as a result he got into new troubles. He did not understand whether this was really the typical life of a student. At this moment, something caught Bai Qiao's eye, and someone suddenly ran up to him. It was Wu Yaoyao. She blocked the guy's way. She had a bow and arrows behind her shoulders. The girl was running from training. The girl was very serious and said that the guys needed to talk. It was getting dark outside, and a picturesque sunset appeared in the sky, shimmering with different colors. Bai Qiao walked to the food stall. The salesman called him and informed him that the guy's order was ready. The young man thanked the seller. He bought ice cream for himself from Yao Yao. The guy was going to pay with a card. At this time, a melody was playing on the street, which sang about love and relationships. Bai Qiao took his order and took the ice cream to the girl. Wu Yaoyao sat with a sad look on the steps near the lake. She admired the sunset. Bai Qiao brought the girl's order. He looked at her sadly and understood how she felt. Bai Qiao didn't know what to tell her. Wu Yaoyao didn't want to eat ice cream. She refused the guy's offer. He was surprised and asked if the girl was on a diet today. Wu Yaoyao snatched the glass of ice cream from the guy with a dissatisfied look. She was offended by him. Wu Yaoyao, looking upset, asked how long she and Ning Yi had been together. Bai Qiao replied that they started dating yesterday. Wu Yaoyao shouted in surprise that this was exactly what they were discussing back then. Bai Qiao felt awkward. He did not like this whole situation, and it was difficult for him to communicate with Wu Yaoyao at the moment. The girl asked if it would be okay if she called Ning Yi now and said that they were on a date. The girl wanted to annoy the guy in every possible way. Bai Qiao didn't know what to answer. He said that Ning Yi is quite an understanding person and will not be jealous of him. The girl began to eat her ice cream in frustration. She was still confused by such unexpected news. While stirring the ice cream, she asked if Bai Qiao really liked Ning Yi. Bai Qiao replied that this was the first thing he said to Ning Yi and the guys were really good together. Wu Yaoyao, looking upset, said that she liked the guy definitely less than Wu Yaoyao. The guy turned away, he couldn't look Wu Yaoyao in the eyes. He said that Ning Yi considers him a person worthy of trust. Bai Qiao hesitantly said that this was enough for them to start dating. The girl looked at the beautiful sunset and said that she felt it too. She tried to explain to the guy that it was also worthy to date him. When they met here several years ago, the girl immediately trusted him. Wu Yaoyao smiled sweetly, trying to hide her true feelings. The girl noted that now is not the time to talk about such things. She thought that in the future, Ning Yi would sit in her place and eat ice cream with Bai Qiao. The two of them watched the sun set over the horizon. A tear rolled down Wu Yaoyao's cheek. The girl laughed nervously. She was shocked by the situation. The girl didn't understand what she was saying. Bitter tears flowed from her eyes. She tried to restrain herself, but she couldn't. Wu Yaoyao gathered all her strength into a fist and decided to tell the guys something important. The wind was so strong that it untied the girl's bows. She said that if Wu Yaoyao is in love, she will definitely follow Bai Qiao. At that moment, the wind blew away one of the girl's bows, and her hair came loose. Wu Yaoyao continued to say that she would always sit next to Bai Qiao. The guy looked at her thoughtfully. The ribbon from Wu Yaoyao's bow flew away with a breath of wind and fell to the ground. The guy was about to pick it up, but suddenly stopped. Wu Yaoyao reached for the ribbon. The guy did not want to collide with her hands. The girl asked the guy to help tie her hair. For Bai Qiao, this was a common thing, since he has a sister. He asked Wu Yaoyao to bow his head, and the guy easily tied a perfect bow on the girl's hair. At that moment, Bai Qiao realized the whole situation and what they were doing. Bai Qiao realized that he should no longer do this, and now he has a girlfriend. At this very moment, Wu Yaoyao also understood all this, and her heart became very sad. But nevertheless, the bows were already tied. Bai Qiao sighed heavily and asked if he tied his hair well. Wu Yaoyao said with a depressed look that it probably wasn't bad. In the past, Bai Qiao would often braid a girl's hair. She asked if this was the last time. Bai Qiao didn't know what to answer the girl, so as not to upset her even more, he mumbled something about it. Wu Yaoyao grabbed his hands. She said that it was obvious to her that one date would not be enough. The girl is looking forward to having ice cream together again, but Bai Qiao doesn't give her a chance. The girl cried bitterly as she looked at Bai Qiao. Her sobs could be heard from afar. Passers-by had already begun to turn to look at the guys. They thought that something terrible had happened. Wu Yaoyao swore at the guy and pounded him in the chest. She wished him death and called the guy names. If Wu Yaoyao knew what a guy was like, she would not have fallen in love with him. Bai Qiao was surprised by such an outburst of emotions, but the guy himself remained calm. In fact, this is in the order of things. When the girl held back silently shedding tears, the guy was in unbearable pain. Such a surge of emotions slightly calmed the guy. He hugged the girl and tried to calm her down. Everything was over with her. The guy thought that as long as his fake relationship with Ning Yi continued, this problem would solve itself, and Bai Qiao returned home. Lulu was already waiting for him. The girl bought him ice cream. The guy thought that their story with Wu Yaoyao would end and why everything would fall into place. The guy replied that he didn't want ice cream because his stomach hurt. Memory remains in the past, life awaits in the future. The guy believed that for Wu Yaoyao he would become just a speck of dust between them. The guy was upset and lay on his bed. At that moment, Lulu came into his room and saw that something was wrong with the guy. Bai Qiao kept thinking about the situation. He thought that he had done enough to end the story with Wu Yaoyao. Lulu approached her brother. She pulled the blanket off him and screamed joyfully. The guy was in a stupor from fear and surprise. Bai Qiao shouted at his sister. He doesn't understand why they should scare him like that. Bai Qiao asked what the girl was doing in his room. Lulu came because her brother had a stomach ache and wanted to cover him with a blanket. If Bai Qiao was upset about something, his sister was ready to be with him. And if Bai Qiao was hungry, the girl was ready to cook him something to eat. The guy smiled at his sister's support. At this moment, Bai Qiao received a notification on her phone. Ning Yi wrote to him. The girl asked how they would go to school now, in order to support the picture of their unreal relationship. The next morning, Bai Qiao went to meet Ning Yi to go to school together. Bai Qiao noticed that this morning there was some kind of eerie atmosphere in the air. It seemed to him that absolutely all the people on the street were looking at him intently with a condemning look. At that moment, someone tapped the guy on the shoulder with a newspaper. Bai Qiao was scared by such an unexpected event. He was called out by 3 guys who looked more like bandits. One of them said that he heard that a guy was harassing Ning Yi. He asked if it was true. The second guy said that according to rumors, the pervert Bai Qiao grabbed the girl and forced her to do whatever he wanted. The third shortest guy didn't say anything. He was holding in his hands what looked like a knife made from newspapers. Bai Qiao replied that he gives them the highest score for acting and the guy needs to quickly wash off this transferable gum tattoo from his hand, because they have a discipline test this month. The guy was surprised how Bai Qiao realized that the tattoo was transferable. Bai Qiao shouted that there was no need to be a genius, everything was clear as soon as he looked at his hand. Bai Qiao asked if they would like to skip the 4th stage and in the afternoon the English teacher would tell them the contents of this newspaper. The guys were very surprised that the newspaper from which they made the sword was needed for the lesson. The guys said that they were just joking and asked if it was true that he was dating Ning Yi. The guys put their hands on his shoulders. At this moment, someone called Bai Qiao. All the guys, like Bai Qiao himself, were surprised. Ning Yi called him. She greeted Bai Qiao. The girl looked very beautiful in her school uniform with her long hair flowing. Ning Yi apologized for being late and smiled sweetly at Bai Qiao. Bai Qiao said that she was not late and he himself had just arrived. The guys saw this and were shocked, their jaws dropped. The guys couldn't believe that this was all true. Bai Qiao couldn't force the girl to date. The guys shed tears from missed opportunities. Ning Yi looked at them in surprise. She didn't know who these guys were. The girl asked if they were making trouble for Bai Qiao. Bai Qiao said that this is not true, they are his classmates, but Ning Yi helped him a lot. The girl had something for Bai Qiao. She reached into her bag to take it out. The guys were still watching them in surprise. The guy asked what it was. The girl was going to give the guy tea with lemon, which she herself had prepared this morning. Ning Yi took out a thermos of tea from her bag and handed it to Bai Qiao. The guys were still crying because the girl was offering Bai Qiao a drink according to tradition. They thought that the guy was humiliating them, and just a lemon would have been enough for them. Bai Qiao became embarrassed and asked if the girl would mind if he carried her bag. The girl was surprised by such a proposal. She said that it was not worth doing this. Ning Yi did not want to bother the guy. Bai Qiao quietly told her in her ear that this is how couples behave. Ning Yi thought he was great and had studied the behavior of people in love well. The guy was happy with her praise. The girl handed her bag to the guy. Bai Qiao couldn't hold Ning Yi's briefcase for a second. It was so heavy that it broke through the asphalt. The girl asked if everything was okay. Bai Qiao replied that she was just studying. Why did she need so many things? The guy didn't miss her briefcase. It fell to the ground, and a book peeked out of her purse. The next moment, all the other books spilled out. There were a lot of them, with different covers. The guy didn't understand why there were so many girls. The guy picked up one of the books and thought that only with the help of it could he fall asleep for a whole semester. Bai Qiao thought that perhaps the girls from the literature club wore such bags to keep themselves in shape. The girl walked away a little. She wanted to ask the guy something. Ning Yi turned around and asked if the guy thought literature was difficult to understand. Bai Qiao was a technician and for him literature was really something complicated and not interesting. The girl ran her hand over Bai Qiao's shirt. She thought that literature never looked down on life and was not cut off from the masses. Whether ancient or modern, West or East, literature has always reflected human life. People's experiences, their feelings and emotions are the source of both life itself and literature. The girl continued to climb up the guy's shirt with her fingers. She believed that literature is the science of man. The girl had already picked up his tie. Behind it was a brooch given to Tan Xian. Even artistic fiction is one of the possible manifestations of human life. Expressing what is in your soul is your own literature, Ning Yi believed. Ning Yi patted the guy on the head, apologized and said that from the point of view of materialism, literature is an expression of what is in his head. Bai Qiao took the girl by the hand and noticed that even so he didn't really understand her. Ning Yi gave an example. She asked if the guy thought he liked Wu Yaoyao. The guy thought about it. He remembered how they spent a lot of time together. The guys ate delicious food and laughed a lot. They had known Wu Yaoyao for a long time. As a friend, she was a very interesting person and very cheerful. However, if we are talking about love, then this was too much for Bai Qiao. The guy believed that it was therefore better to remain friends with her. Ning Yi noted that such feelings could be transferred into a story. She would look forward to it. Bai Qiao tried to disown it. He wouldn't even waste paper on such trifles. At this time, someone was watching their dialogue. It was Mandarin. The girl was furious that the student union was about to collapse, and Bai Qiao had a date. The girl asked to let her know something. She glared at the guy. The girl furiously asked what color was Bai Qiao's blood. Ning Yi stood calmly on the side and did not understand what was happening at all. The guy immediately began to run away from the Mandarin. He was seriously scared of what the girl might do. He asked what she was saying. The Mandarin kept catching up with Bai Qiao. Her hands almost reached the guy's hair. He was shocked by the girl's insistence. At this time, someone gave the Mandarin a slap on the head and stopped the girl. It was Ning Yi. The Mandarin immediately calmed down and stopped chasing the guy. The girl asked what was wrong with the student union. Ning Yi wondered if something had happened to him and why the Mandarin needed Bai Qiao so urgently. At this time it was a warm, lovely day outside. The bright sun was shining. The leaves on the trees were quietly swaying in the wind. In the student council office, Tang Xiang was lying on her desk. The girl was depressed. She was upset by the news of Bai Qiao's relationship. The girl was holding a bow in her hands, in the center of which she sewed Bai Qiao's torn button. The tangerine walked furiously along the corridor. The girl was angry with the guy's behavior. Bai Qiao asked what happened to the student union. Bai Qiao did not understand what it meant to tell the girl that he would fall apart. The guy asked not to say that. The Mandarin turned to Bai Qiao angrily. She was angry that the chairman found out about her relationship with Ning Yi. The guy said that yesterday, when he and the eldest were in class, the chairwoman called him, but she immediately ran away, and she must have found out about everything. The Mandarin sighed heavily. She understood that she had a difficult conversation ahead of her. The girl patted the guy on the head and said that they needed to go save the student union. The tangerine with a creepy expression on her face said that the guy would go with his mommy to apologize to the chairman. When the time comes, the girl will become his assistant in committing harakiri. The guy was horrified by such words. Bai Qiao did not understand what this all meant and why he should apologize to Tan Xian, whether everything was so serious that the guy would have to do harakiri to atone for his guilt. The tangerine pulled Bai Qiao's tie. She said that one is stupid and the other is cowardly and they are made for each other. It is surprising that the guys are still not together. The tangerine smiled and thought that fortunately the guys had her. The girl had a plan to fix everything. She will not allow a bad outcome. The guys came to the chairwoman's office. The tangerine slowly opened the door. The chairman was still lying on the table upset. She looked towards the door. At this moment, the tangerine pushed Bai Qiao into the office. Tan Xian was very surprised when she saw this scene. The girl closed the door. The guy shouted that the Mandarin had decided to kill him. He almost suffocated. If the guys don't decide anything today, the girl won't let them out, even if they die of hunger. The guy was shocked by such determination. Tan Xian was confused by such unusual help from her friend. The Mandarin screamed that they were annoying her. Tan Xian smiled sweetly as she looked at the guy. The girl was delighted to see Bai Qiao. She was holding a bow in her hands, in the center of which Bai Qiao's button was sewn. The girl immediately hid her trophy so that Bai Qiao would not see it. Tan Xian looked at Bai Qiao upset. There was no emotion on the girl's face. Bai Qiao looked at her in surprise. He didn't know where to start the conversation or how to solve this situation. The guys were in different sides of the office. None of them dared to take a step towards each other. Tan Xian was surprised that Bai Qiao decided to visit her, because this rarely happens. The girl didn't want to look at the guy. She pretended to be looking at the sheet. The guy pointed his finger at a stack of papers. The girl was sitting on one side, and Bai Qiao's area was on the other. The guy noticed that it looked like the 38th parallel. Bai Qiao thought that this was somehow childish and even fifth graders no longer played these games, but a college student just needed to be given a reason. The girl confidently stated that this was not true. Tan Xian explained that the filing cabinet was broken, so they had to put them all on the table. The guy was surprised that she dumped all the documents in one pile without checking their contents. The chairwoman came closer to the guy. She sighed heavily and sat down on the table. The girl said that she was slacking because of Bai Qiao. The girl blushed. The guy started going through the papers. He said that if a girl was training him for wage slavery in a company with a 12-hour work schedule, then the girl should just tell about it. Tan Xian lay down on the table and said that she would not speak in such boring phrases. The girl laid her head on a stack of papers, looked sweetly at the guy and smiled. The guy awkwardly asked why Tan Xian did this. She was so careless with the documents. The girl replied that she had another reason. Tan Xian was embarrassed, she was already starting to speak. The next moment, the girl admitted that she liked the guy. She turned to the side and turned her head away from Bai Qiao. The guy was shocked, he looked at the girl in horror. Tan Xian blushed, she perfectly understood that the guy would not reciprocate her feelings. The girl continued to lie on the table while Bai Qiao sorted through the papers. The guy's hands were shaking with embarrassment, he blushed and didn't know how to act in such a situation. Bai Qiao was forced to reject the chairman's proposal. The girl was surprised by such a formal speech. Tan Xian was offended that the guy didn't even want to know the reason. Bai Qiao jumped up from the table and thought that the girl would probably tell him the reason anyway. He tried to calm himself as best he could. The girl said she couldn't help it. Tan Xian said that this is because the deputy likes to eat fish, and if you like a person, then you don't like everything about him, so she constantly catches fish with her hands to please the deputy. Bai Qiao replied that this is a very touching reason for taking time off from work, and he will list the girl among the 10 most sensual people in Jingnan. The guy thought that these were typical fox tricks. The guy thought that the girl was smiling deep down when she saw his red and confused face. Tan Xiang stood up from the table. Looking at the deputy, the girl did not think that she would be right. Tan Xian's mood suddenly changed and the girl smiled. At that moment, the door opened. Anger and dark energy began to flow from behind it. The Mandarin said that this is why the behavior of the chairman led to today's situation. The guys realized that it was the Mandarin duck standing outside the door. She glared angrily at Tan Xian. The girl was very surprised that the tangerine was standing outside the door. She instantly ran towards her. Bai Qiao didn't understand what caused Tan Xian's violent reaction. Tan Xiang asked since when has she been peeping. The tangerine calmed her down and said that she already knew everything and there was only one person left in the whole world who did not yet know about the girl's feelings. Tan Xian felt that there was nothing she could do if things had led to this result. The Mandarin was about to enter the office. She said that Bai Qiao didn't understand anything because the girl was afraid to tell him. Mandarin was going to help her with this, because this needs to be ended. Bai Qiao doesn't understand what the girls are talking about. He looked at them in surprise. The tangerine grabbed her friend's hand and dragged her out of the office. The girls decided to talk about everything outside in private and discuss all the secrets. The girls went up to the roof. Mandarin asked Tian Xian if she would pretend to be an old maid. She didn't know what to answer. The Mandarin didn't think that her friend wanted this of her own free will. Tan Xian asked if she thought the girl should take the guy away. The tangerine replied that if Tan Xian wanted to take him away, she would support her, but the girl should not go that far. The tangerine whispered something in her friend's ear. Tan Xian looked at the Mandarin in surprise. She was surprised to hear this. After Tan Xian returned to the reverse class, her mood completely changed. She stated that the council was still working. The girl wanted to discuss financial reports. Tan Xian was surprised to see the guy in this state. He was sitting angrily on the floor. The guy was already tired of waiting for Tan Xian. He looked at her offended and asked if the girl wanted to talk to him about work. Bai Qiao asked if the girl was okay and what happened to her. The tangerine looked out from behind the door and said that this was a woman's secret and the guy shouldn't ask unnecessary questions. The tangerine turned around. She was going to go to the swimming club. The guys had to figure it out themselves. The girl stated that their business did not concern her. A brilliant idea came to the guy's head, what the girls could be talking about. He thought that they decided to blow up the college. Tan Xiang rolled one of the sheets and hit Bai Qiao on the head. The girl asked what he was saying. She was completely determined to work. On the table in front of the guys lay a tall stack of papers. These association procurement applications are due in a week. If they are not approved today, it is better to blow up the college before the management kills them. Tan Xian thought that the Mandarin duck was constantly catching fish with her hands and that was too much. The guy screamed that the same could be said about the girl. The girl thought that enough empty talk. She suggested we watch everything together. Tan Xian put her head on the guy's shoulder. The guys got to work. The swimming club wanted to buy new equipment. And the tennis club wants to change rackets. The girl kept insisting. Tan Xian came across papers from the literary club and asked to confirm her subscription to the magazine. Bai Qiao looked at Tan Xian in surprise. He hoped that his relationship would not affect the girl's decision. Tian Xiang smiled slyly. She was planning something. The girl said that literature is not a significant thing for their students and they need to study well in their specialty. The chairman said that after a vote of all members of the student union, it was decided to dissolve this club. Tan Xiang was already ready to sign the document. Bai Qiao shouted at the girl. He grabbed her hand, preventing her from signing. The guy was seriously scared. He asked to treat all clubs seriously and equally, because she is the chairman. The girl replied that this is exactly how she works. The guy took all the papers and said that now Tan Xian will verify everything, and the guy will approve. The girl was offended and noticed how strict Bai Qiao was. She patted Bai Qiao on the head and agreed to his proposal. The girl had one thing on her mind that required the help of such a strict deputy. Bai Qiao already at that moment felt something was wrong. He did not trust the ideas of the chairman. The girl glowed with happiness and said that only Bai Qiao could help her. She suggested meeting on Saturday. A few days later, events took place in a shopping center. Lulu stared at the clothes on the rack. Bai Qiao was dumbfounded when he saw the item his sister had chosen. She grabbed pink shorts and asked her brother to try them on, because they were on sale. The guy tried to refuse. He already had swimming trunks and wore them once. The guy asked if he needed another one. Lulu replied that they were needed because his swimming trunks were missing. The guy said that he had swimming as a physical education class this semester, so he needed them. Bai Qiao didn't understand where his swimming trunks could have gone, since he had put them in his bag last week. Bai Qiao reached into his bag to find his swimming trunks. Instead, he felt for the thermos that Ning Yi gave him. The guy was confused. He didn't understand where his swimming trunks could have gone. Lulu watched intently as the guy rummaged through his bag. Bai Qiao understood that if his sister saw this thermos, she would kill him on the spot. Bai Qiao hid the bag behind his back and said that they were really gone. It looks like he'll have to buy a new one. Lulu noticed that her brother was acting strange. She attacked him and demanded that he let her see what he was hiding. Bai Qiao tried to escape from her while holding the bag in his hands. Bai Qiao tried to stop his sister. He was going to explain everything now. The guy was very nervous. He said that in his bag there was a super scary bug that looked like an octopus and seemed to be predatory. If his sister sees this, she will not sleep at night from fear. Naturally, the girl did not believe her brother. She demanded to let her look at the beetle. The guy held her at arm's length. He didn't know how to calm his sister down. The guy asked how the girl knew that his swimming trunks were missing, and if his sister had done something bad behind his back. Lulu blushed. The girl thought for a moment. She didn't know what to answer her brother. Lulu exhaled. Something still needed to be said. At that moment, a devilish thought came to her. She asked if Bai Qiao really wanted to know in that case, but would speak very loudly. There were just a lot of people in the store. The guy did not understand what happened to the expression on her face. He asked her to speak without strangeness. Lulu smiled and began to explain why his swim trunks were missing. She wasn't sure she should tell her brother this story. The incident happened last week. The girl felt embarrassed to remember it. Lulu put on a skirt, but couldn't find her shorts, and the guy's swimming trunks conveniently fell under her arm. That's why the girl decided to wear the guy's swimming trunks under her skirt, even though they were a little tight. Bai Qiao covered her mouth with his hand so that no one else would hear it. Bai Qiao still decided to buy these swimming trunks. Bai Qiao patted the girl on the head and asked if she would like to buy herself a swimsuit since they were in the store. The girl became embarrassed and blushed. She asked if her brother wanted to see her change clothes. Bai Qiao and his sister were in a shopping center. The girl asked loudly if her brother wanted to watch her change clothes. Bai Qiao was afraid that someone would hear it. The guy grabbed his sister by the head and said that she was thinking about things that children shouldn't think about and he didn't have such strange preferences. The girl tried to escape from her brother's hands. She asked him not to touch her hair, because he would tangle it. Lulu smiled. She didn't believe that the guy had never thought about this, otherwise the reaction wouldn't have been so violent. The girl turned around and said that it seemed like her brother was just thinking about what he shouldn't do. Bai Qiao thought that she shouldn't waste words like that. Lulu started choosing her swimsuit. She took one white, for 129 yen. And after some time, the girl found another one that she liked. It was pink and cost 229 yen. Lulu couldn't choose which one she liked best. She also compared their prices. The girl had been saving money for a long time. She must have already had quite a large nest egg. It even seemed to the guy that she was a little rich woman. For a long time, the girl put her pocket money into a piggy bank with a pig. Bai Qiao approached his sister and asked how much money she had saved. The girl replied that it was a lot. The guy noticed that she had been saving for a long time. Lulu thought that her savings were still not enough. it was hardly enough for the thing she wanted. The guy asked if Lulu wanted to buy something. The girl was surprised by this question. She turned around and asked if her brother wanted to know about it. She blushed and said that even if Bai Qiao wants to know about it, she is not at all ready to say. Bai Qiao interrupted her and said that in that case he didn't want to know. In fact, the guy was very interested, but no matter how close they are, a brother and sister must have their own secrets. In fact, it may be the biggest secret associated with teen romance, or legends about demons, as well as the power that can save the world. The guy believed that in any case his sister could not be ordinary. The girl became embarrassed. Lulu turned around and smiled sweetly at her brother. Bai Qiao was sure of one thing. Lulu thanked Bai Qiao for his kindness. The guy was dumbfounded by such words. He thought his sister was so damn cute. Bai Qiao approached the girl and said that since she was saving money, it was better for her not to spend it. Fortunately, he doesn't skimp and is ready to buy what the girl will like. However, Bai Qiao was worried about something and thought for a moment. Bai Qiao picked up a swimsuit that costs more and looked at it carefully. The guy introduced his sister in this swimsuit. He was quite open and frank. The guy introduced himself to her by the pool with her hair tied up. And even if this swimsuit fits Lulu well, there will definitely be a person with strange intentions. The guy believed that they couldn't buy such a swimsuit, because men would immediately stare at her. He had already imagined how some man proposed to a girl, and how Bai Qiao is already leading her down the aisle to him. Bai Qiao thought that this could not be allowed to happen. Bai Qiao thought it was better to buy a cheaper swimsuit. It was one piece. Lulu turned to him, stuck out her tongue and considered her brother greedy. Lulu decided to go try on a swimsuit. Bai Qiao smiled. At this moment, someone approached Bai Qiao from behind. This person asked if it was Bai Qiao. The guy turned around in surprise. He was not expecting anyone. This man threw a black bag with a bow into his hands. The girl said that Wu Yaoyao had not gone to school for 2 days. Today was the 3rd day. They asked everyone in the college and it seems that only Bai Qiao knows where she lives. In addition, the student union is required to serve students, so Bai Qiao must hand over all these notes to Wu Yaoyao. The girl said that this task was assigned to him by someone from above and refusal would not be accepted. Bai Qiao was surprised by the girl's height. She turned around and said goodbye and said that she had to go. Bai Qiao needed to deliver this for lunch. The guy was shocked. At that moment, Lulu came out of the fitting room, tried on her new swimsuit and asked what her brother thought. At that moment, the girl saw the guy's woman's bag. She looked at it angrily, and her instincts were activated. Lulu was chasing the guy, asking where this bag came from and whether some bad girl gave it to him. Lulu was going to get violent if the guy didn't explain everything rationally. Bai Qiao ran away from his sister as fast as he could. He said that he had urgent matters and he would explain everything when they returned home. The pursuit of his sister and the cruel punishment that awaits him at home frightened Bai Qiao a little. However, it seemed to him that handing over these notes to Wu Yaoyao was the most troublesome thing. The guy came to her house. The girl did not go to school because he broke off relations with her. The guy didn't know how to communicate with Wu Yaoyao, but if she opened the door, the guy had to say something. He decided to rehearse their dialogue. The guy imagined that he was giving Wu Yaoyao her notes. He didn't like how he played the delivery man. The guy urgently needed to come up with something. He decided to start by saying that they had not seen each other for a long time. However, this was not the best idea because only 3 days had passed. The next thought was to ask how the girl was feeling, because the guy heard that she was sick. But the young man instantly rejected this idea, because he could not hear about it from anywhere. It would be strange if he rejected the person and immediately began asking him. He decided to say that her classmates gave her the notes, but it was too inhumane to say such things that had nothing to do with the guy. At that moment, someone approached from behind. The girl called Bai Qiao handsome and noticed that they had not seen each other for a long time. After some time, Lulu sent messages to Bai Qiao. She thanked him for the swimsuit and said that she was already at home and preparing dinner. The girl took a selfie in the mirror wearing a new swimsuit and sent it to Bai Qiao. The photographs were very candid. The guy became embarrassed and blushed while looking at her. The girl invited the guy for coffee. She asked if he came to visit Wu Yaoyao and at the same time decided to give her the notes. The girl forgot to buy a bow, so she sent Wu Yaoyao to the store. The girl should be back soon. The girl's name was Chen. She invited Bai Qiao to have dinner with them because she bought a lot of goodies. The guy was very embarrassed by this conversation. he thanked Aunt Chen and said that he had something to do at home. Aunt Chen needed to find out something from the guy. He was very nervous and afraid of the woman. Miss Chen heard that her daughter was rejected a few days ago. She was holding coffee in her hands. Her expression changed and she asked Bai Qiao if he knew what happened. The guy understood absolutely nothing about what caused Aunt Chen's reaction. The guy was really afraid. Wu Yaoyao's mother came closer to the guy, patted him on the shoulder and asked if he really didn't understand anything. Bai Qiao remembered. He thought that household chores could wait and he might be delayed. Aunt Chen put on a pink apron. She was glad that Bai Qiao changed his mind. She said that soon the guy would appreciate her culinary skills. The girl winked at Bai Qiao. The guy sat on the sofa with his head down. He didn't understand where this insane pressure came from and whether he really agreed to something terrible. At that moment, Wu Yaoyao returned home. She opened the door and called her mother. Wu Yaoyao said that she bought a bao. The girl went into the house and started getting drunk. She was very surprised by what she saw in front of her. The girl blushed. Bai Qiao stood right in front of her and the guy greeted awkwardly. The girl didn't understand how he ended up here. Wu Yaoyao ran to her mother. The girl's brain was already melting. She was screaming. Aunt Chen didn't understand what her daughter was saying. Wu Yaoyao ran to her mother in tears and hugged her. Miss Chen didn't understand what caused the girl's reaction. Wu Yaoyao was scared. She thought that she was hallucinating and she saw the same one on the sofa. Mrs. Chen lowered her eyes sadly, and seemed to understand everything. The girl thought that she was hallucinating because of the temperature. She was sure that she would never recover. At this moment, Aunt Chen had an idea. Mom patted Wu Yaoyao on the head and said that the girl was really out of her mind now, and the doctor handed her a certificate with a diagnosis and told her to inform her when her daughter's emotional state had stabilized. Wu Yaoyao was very scared. She cried and asked what she should do now. Aunt Chen said that all that remains is to wait until the illness passes, and now the girl can entertain her hallucinations in her room. She will call when dinner is prepared. Wu Yaoyao didn't understand what her mother was talking about, what it meant to have fun in her room. The girl plucked up courage. She gritted her teeth and thought that she should act. Wu Yaoyao climbed onto the sofa and said hello to the guy. The girl still believed that Bai Qiao was just a hallucination. The guy didn't understand why they were treating him like a hallucination. Wu Yaoyao smiled. She really liked seeing the boy's hallucination. She thought that he was very similar to the real one. The girl laughed. Bai Qiao said that they had not seen each other for a long time. The guy heard that she was sick. The girl's classmates handed her notes, and the guy reached for them. The girl interrupted him and thought that she was in front of a very cool hallucination. She not only knew how to speak, but also behaved the same way. The guy thought that she was really out of her mind because of her illness. Bai Qiao handed Wu Yaoyao the notes that her classmates had handed over. The girl smiled and refused to take these notes. Bai Qiao asked why. Wu Yaoyao replied that if she touched the illusion, it would disappear. According to her logic, the guy should not have disappeared until the girl touched him. Wu Yaoyao loved Bai Qiao with all her heart. The girl did not want to let this wonderful illusion disappear. At that moment, the chick's mysterious toy was lying on the floor. Wu Yaoyao stepped on this toy, the shell cracked, and the toy almost broke. The chick flew up and could not withstand Wu Yaoyao's pressure. The girl slipped on a toy and fell, flying straight towards Bai Qiao. The next moment, the girl's head practically landed on the guy's lap. Wu Yaoyao's hair was a millimeter from Bai Qiao's feet. The girl became nervous. Wu Yaoyao's chick and Bai Qiao were surprised by this situation and waited to see what would happen next. A loud scream was heard and the chick flew to the floor. The girl hit the guy so hard that it hurt him. He could barely restrain his voice. Wu Yaoyao thought that since she touched Bai Qiao, everything would end. The girl began to toss and turn. She grabbed Bai Qiao's legs and asked him not to disappear. Wu Yaoyao's eyes widened in surprise as she lay on Bai Qiao's lap. Wu Yaoyao stood up and started touching the guy. She didn't understand what it was. The girl continued to touch him even in places where this was not allowed. Yes, Wu Yaoyao finally realized that this was the real Bai Qiao and not an illusion. The guy said it was so. Wu Yaoyao was very scared. She was embarrassed by all her actions. The girl loudly began to call her mother and say that she was a liar, that she gave and believed that in front of her was not the real Bai Qiao. Wu Yaoyao rushed upstairs to her room. The girl was without makeup and in these clothes. She was sure that she would never get married. Aunt Chen said that the girl deceived herself and her mother didn't say a word. Aunt Chen asked if Bai Qiao was the one who did all this. Bai Qiao doesn't quite understand what Auntie is talking about, he was confused. Aunt Chen turned around and said that if the guy doesn't confess, then there's no need for him to come home today. The guy wondered if she was definitely not Tan Xian's relative, because she was threatening just like the white-haired fox. Bai Qiao's problem returned to its original point, the guy was confused. He didn't understand how he could get along with Wu Yaoyao and hand over the notes to her. Bai Qiao went upstairs to Wu Yaoyao's room, he knocked on the door and asked if the girl was there. She was changing clothes in your room and said that the guy was mistaken. There was a sign on the girl's door that said that this was Wu Yaoyao's room, but the girl asked the guy to look in the living room. At that second, the guy saw a red liquid flowing out from under Wu Yaoyao's door. The guy thought he saw blood, he was confused. The guy wasn't sure what to do in this situation. He began to think about where the blood might come from. The guy thought that the girl decided to commit suicide. Bai Qiao abruptly opened the door to Wu Yaoyao's room, he shouted at the girl not to do this. The guy was amazed by what he saw in the room, he became numb. Wu Yaoyao sat unharmed on her bed while Bai Qiao burst into her room and told her not to do this. The girl was sitting in only a nightie, she blushed and became embarrassed. The guy was surprised that everything was okay, because he was sure that something had happened to the girl. Wu Yaoyao grabbed her pig blanket. The girl covered herself with him and shouted that Wu Yaoyao was not in this room and he was mistaken. The guy sat down on the sofa in the corner of the room, he watched this scene. The girl pulled her hood further over her head to hide. The guy asked if Wu Yaoyao was feeling well. The girl only had a normal temperature, everything was fine. The doctor said that tomorrow she can go to school. The girl lay curled up on the bed. Bai Qiao entered the room, he realized that the red liquid was just juice. The guy came closer to the bed, he asked if Wu Yaoyao had a cold and pointed to the spilled juice. The girl was very alarmed, she instantly jumped out of bed and ran to look at the puddle. The girl was afraid that the juice might stain something, she hurried to see if everything was okay. The girl was holding a box of cupcakes in her hands, they were all in perfect order. Wu Yaoyao was delighted and took the treat straight to Bai Qiao. She offered the guy to try these delicious cupcakes. Bai Qiao simply could not refuse her, he took one and brought it to his mouth. Wu Yaoyao's eyes were shining, she was eager to know what the guy thought about the cupcakes. Bai Qiao really liked it, he asked if this was a new product from his auntie's store, he had never tried anything like it before. Wu Yaoyao proudly said that she baked them and you couldn't buy them in her mother's store. The girl was a respected member of the confectionery club. The guy slyly noticed that the girl had just said that she was not Wu Yaoyao and was there really another venerable member in this club. The girl continued to pretend, she said that Wu Yaoyao asked him to give him the cupcakes, because she was not here. The guy extended his hand to Wu Yaoyao and said, after all, they are already college students, I need to stop playing these games. The girl said that someone falls in love, someone goes to the sea at night. The guy was surprised at such strange words, the girl turned and said that this line from the song was also what Wu Yaoyao wanted to convey to him. The guy was upset to see how hard it was for Wu Yaoyao to survive all this. Wu Yaoyao continued to hum the lines, the wind from yesterday's taxi blew in Shugang Bay. Bai Qiao apologized, Wu Yaoyao replied that the beloved does not need to apologize. The guy felt embarrassed by such words, but the girl quickly said that these were also lines from a song. Wu Yaoyao asked how the guy was doing with Ning Yi. Bai Qiao clearly did not expect such a question, he asked again. The guy replied that everything was fine. Wu Yaoyao said that this is not the way to behave. She imagined what it would be like if Bai Qiao were her boyfriend. In this case, the girl would never have let him go to visit another girl, especially when this girl admitted her feelings. The guy awkwardly replied that he was asked to go to Wu Yaoyao. Wu Yaoyao smiled, she thought that Bai Qiao had finally changed the subject. The girls needed to change their clothes as soon as possible. Bai Qiao gained strength and decided to start a dialogue with Wu Yaoyao. He was about to tell her something, but something behind him attracted him. Wu Yaoyao was sitting there in a blanket, she was making strange sounds and trembling, the guy thought she was crying again. Bai Qiao became worried, he stood up and walked towards the girl. The guy tried to calm the situation, he couldn't think of how to calm his girlfriend down. Bai Qiao hadn't said anything yet, he didn't understand why she suddenly started crying harder. The guy touched her cape, he invited them to talk face to face. Bai Qiao took hold of the blanket and slowly began to remove it from the girl. Wu Yaoyao's head appeared under the blanket. She was very embarrassed and surprised. The guy looked in surprise at what he saw under the blanket. It turns out that Wu Yaoyao was just changing clothes. She had already taken off her t-shirt. The girl was very embarrassed. She blushed all over and told the guy to quickly close his eyes. Ultimately, the embarrassment between the guy and Wu Yaoyao seemed to disappear thanks to the notes. In addition, Aunt Chen invited Bai Qiao to work at the store on the weekend, and he was forced to agree. Obviously, all this will cause the guy even more trouble. Bai Qiao didn't understand why he didn't refuse the offer. Maybe it was all out of fear. If you think about it, he still broke her daughter's heart a few days ago. On the other hand, Bai Qiao brazenly entered someone else's house, brazenly ate someone else's food, and brazenly took other people's things, so it was difficult to refuse. Walking home from Wu Yaoyao, the guy saw Ning Yi sitting in front of him, and a red cat approached her. The girl really liked cats. She smiled and beamed. The girl stroked the cat. The next moment, the code jumped onto Ning Yi's lap. The cat began to climb up under the girl's clothes. She was squatting in the middle of the street. The animal reached Ning Yi's face and purred loudly. The girl smiled and stroked the cat's head. Bai Qiao approached the girl and asked if she was going home. Ning Yi did not expect to see the guy on the street. The girl said that she was getting ready. At that time the cat saw the bag of food that Bai Qiao was carrying. There was a break in the library. Ning Yi wanted to finish the book and go back. At this moment the cat reached for food. The cat pulled the girl behind him. She got scared. The guy was very embarrassed. He blushed all over. Ning Yi fell right on top of him and hugged her tightly. At that moment, Ning Yi's acquaintances came past them and saw this scene. The guy felt very awkward. He tried to somehow get out of this situation. Bai Qiao blushed very red. He did not understand what to do. Ning Yi was clinging to Bai Qiao at this time. A ginger cat stubbornly climbed up between the guys. It came out near Wu Yaoyao's face. She turned away from it so that it wouldn't hit her in the face. Bai Qiao looked in surprise at the impudent orange cat in front of his face. Bai Qiao carefully took the cat by the scruff of the neck. The guy said that the cat doesn't have to play pranks. Ning Yi suggested that he might just be hungry. The guy offered to take Ning Yi to the library. The Mandarin duck was watching them from around the corner. The guys gave the cat a cupcake. Ning Yi refused Bai Qiao's offer because it was already late. She told him to return home. The Mandarin wrote to Tan Xian. She told her friend that the guy was definitely carrying a package from the Wu Yaoyao family, but this is not important because they need to put their plans into action. The Tangerine was surprised that the guys behaved like that and were embarrassed. They were a couple. A cat approached the girl. It was Mandarin's cat. She said that he had worked hard today. The cat's name was Yuk Tekabana. The girl stroked his head. The cat was a freelance member of the student union. The guy finally got to his home. It was already noon. Bai Qiao was very tired and plopped down on his bed. Before his eyes, Bai Qiao saw his sister. He called her. The girl was late. She and her classmates went on a picnic, so she was going to stay overnight with a friend and will be home tomorrow. Bai Qiao was even upset that his sister left and he was left alone. However, his mood quickly changed. He exclaimed that the holiday of loneliness had arrived and with it the holiday of video games. While Bai Qiao was drinking soda and eating chips, someone called his apartment. Bai Qiao thought that it was his sister and that she had forgotten something. And Bai Qiao walked to the door and opened it. A pink t-shirt appeared before his eyes. Tan Xian came to Bai Qiao's home. She said hello. The girl was holding a bag of food in her hands. Bai Qiao was very surprised and was sweating profusely. He thought that the best solution would be to slowly close the door. Bai Qiao had almost completely closed the door, and Tang Xiang was looking at him intently. She was unhappy and asked if he had finished checking again. The girl reminded him that someone had important things to do today. Bai Qiao pretended to see his sister. He said that he had not seen her for a couple of minutes, and Lulu had already grown up so much. A neighbor who passed by watched this scene in surprise. The woman said hello. Tan Xian forcefully opened the door. She demanded to let her in, because the girl must make sure that the guy is ready to go with her. Bai Qiao replied that he was not allowed to do this and Lulu forbade him to let the girls in. Bai Qiao only noticed that they greeted him. He was very embarrassed and tried to not let the chairman go. The girl was quite stubborn about entering the apartment. Bai Qiao greeted Aunt Su. The woman laughed and said that he had a very beautiful girlfriend. The guy began to make excuses. He said that it was all a mistake. Bai Qiao said that Tan Xian is not his girlfriend. Tan Xian was very upset by the guy's words. Aunt Su said that the girl had already given him away, there was nothing to be ashamed of, the guy was very surprised. The girl acted out the performance again, the neighbor said that she would not complain to the guy's parents. The guy took Tan Xian home and replied that they were just fooling around and would no longer disturb Auntie. The door to Bai Qiao's apartment slammed shut. The guy was surprised by the cunning of this white-haired fox. The girl smiled, she was sure that she had not said a word. The guy got angry and said that in one scene she took control of him and his aunt. The girl sat down on a chair and said that she had wasted her energy in vain. Tan Xian woke up early today to remind the deputy about his business and at the same time buy cookies, but was still condemned by the deputy. Tan Xian took out the cookies she bought on the way to Bai Qiao. She began to eat it seductively and invited the guy to try it. This was just another trick to take some ugly photos of Bai Qiao. Well, the guy was already a seasoned fighter, and if the girl wanted to make fun of him, then she was too late. Tan Xian said that these were very expensive cookies and offered to try them. The girl held the cookies in her mouth. The guy was surprised and asked if he should try it straight from his mouth. He was already reaching for Tan Xian's mouth. Well, at that moment the girl ate the cookies herself. The guy was dumbfounded. The girl smiled slyly and said that the cookies were missing. Bai Qiao didn't understand where the cookies had gone, he was surprised. The girl asked if Bai Qiao could guess where it went. Tan Xian said that the cookie was behind her ear and reached there. The cookie was really behind the ear, the girl pulled a trick. Bai Qiao thought that the girl was talking about her ear, so he leaned very close to her. Tan Xian's cookie fell out of her hands. Bai Qiao was very close to the girl, he was all red and embarrassed. Tan Xian felt the same way. The girl didn't know what to say to the guy, the situation was very awkward.